Mic check. We are live. Officially.
Yeehaw.
We have 1,000 questions too. Honestly, I was trying to like come up with stuff that I was like, I want to bring her back, so I don't want to burn through everything.
Yeah.
And we honestly, I mean, me and him could use an hour and a half.
Right.
Just us two. So adding a third person into
like,
the
we
mix is
gotta
like, yeah, it's gonna be.
Compartmentalize.
Yo, this frame looks toasty, man.
Is it good? Just rack that focus to where my eyes are nice and. Should be pretty deep. So.
I got lost in your eye.
Oh my God! Stop. It should be relatively deep. I think I have it at f4.
I mean, you got the mic and your face and your eyes, so
Good.
yeah, you're good. That's a good looking shot right there.
Hey, it's all about the lighting, man. And Jodi, I just got you. I got the eyes popping for you right
Hey.
now. You gotta get that flattering angle
Thank you.
above 45 degrees down.
Good to meet you. Welcome to Content Day.
Nice to meet you.
Brother. Heck yeah.
As always.
Oh my
What's up,
goodness.
guys?
So today we have Jodi. I just realized I've called you Jodi Ann for so long. I forgot your last name.
Bias.
Jodi Buis.
Yes.
And she runs Jodi Ann Photography. Is that what it's officially called?
Jodi and photo, yeah.
Jodi Ann Photo. I guess I can just let you introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Jodi from Jodi and Photo, wedding photographer, Taylor Swift lover, all the things.
I was wondering.
Don't hate on it. You should have known it's coming in at some point.
I was literally wondering. I wonder how long before she talks about Taylor Swift, and it took about 30
It
seconds.
could, yep, that's honestly longer than usual. So most of the time I don't even introduce myself as myself first. Usually it's just, I'm Jodi, I love Taylor Swift. That's it.
Right on.
So what do you think about Donald Trump?
So,
Oh, stop.
I'm just joking.
This is
I'm
not a
just joking.
Politico
we're
podcast.
like, this took a left turn so quickly.
No, that was right.
Oh my.
Shut up.
Out of control.
Oh,
Jordon definitely has children. With the dad jokes. You definitely have children.
Oh yeah, the dad jokes.
Did we
coming
rack
in.
focus on this? Did you rack focus on this already?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mainly got it focused on her.
Oh, good.
Well, because what I'm gonna do is, so that's for me over there, for my own Instagram reels or whatever. And I don't know if you're gonna want to use any of these, but what I was gonna do as a favor, since took the time to come out here, I was gonna pull some clips for you, and so
Cool.
I framed that up with you in the center. That way, it's easier
That's awesome.
to cut you some clips.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Love
no
that.
problem. Hayden wanted me to invoice you, but
No. What did I, Jordon?
he asked. He just asked.
What did I say, Jordon? Let's not misrepresent each other.
He
I
said, "Are
you
you
going to invoice her for that?" I feel like I'm way too loud for this mic. I'm talking.
I know,
realizing
but
how loud I am.
Just trust me.
I just want to be sure.
Just
Okay,
trust
I
me.
want to be sure you don't get crap audio.
Trust the
I am a loud
process.
I got
man.
it. Look, I got her dialed in. I got me dialed in. I got you dialed in. We are good to go.
It was merely a question. Are you going to invoice her?
No.
Like I should invoice you for the flash.
Bro, that's crazy.
What? I missed it.
She gifted me something that. What the frick is happening? Yeah, invoice me for the flash.
Funny story.
crazy,
So when
That's funny, bro.
when like athletes are on their like retirement tour or whatever, like Derek Jeter when he retired and everybody knew it was his last season. All the gifts that he got, he had to pay taxes on. Because he was getting like kayaks and like somebody gifted him a Rolex watch and stuff. And you have like, I don't know why or how, but he had to pay taxes on all those gifts. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. That's
weird.
a lot of money too. I mean, I'm sure he's
He's
not
got it.
not surprised at how much taxes he's going to pay anyways, because he pays
Yeah.
a ton of taxes anyways.
He's got it. So I guess I want to kind of start off with letting you kind of explain what got you started in photography. That's the big, because I always love to hear people's story, because like my story is very like boring, I think. It's just I picked up a camera one day and was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah,
So
like-
I mean, what was your
Yeah. So I've always loved taking photos, like ever since I was young, and I've always been dubbed the friend group photo taker, all the angles, all the things. Oh, yeah.
I would kill for that background though. I would kill for that to be my story.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
But it's like everyone, like, I like took the photos of everyone else. So I'm like, nobody knows how to take a picture of me. So it's fine.
Dude,
but
isn't that freaking true?
I know.
Every time.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck? There's no like quality, especially when you start. There's no quality pictures of you within that first like
Oh, yeah, none.
6 months.
None at all.
And then you
At
meet
all.
friends like us.
And then you get some.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sorry, go ahead.
But then I was in grad school, and it was like December 2020, so like Christmas 2020. And I was like getting ready to graduate that next semester, but I was like super stressed, super overwhelmed, like wasn't doing anything like really for myself that I enjoyed. A lot of it was just like pouring into all of that. So my boyfriend, Daniel, gifted me like a Canon camera, like just like basic kit, like your crop sensor, like like I think it was like a Canon T100 was what it was.
Did we all start on a crop sensor?
100%. There's
I
no
started
way.
on Micro Four Thirds.
Did you?
I had what was my very first camera? It was ironically enough, it's the same brand that I'm shooting on now, which I never intended on going back.
Because you jumped to Fuji and then back.
Yeah, well, I went a Lumix G7. Yeah, Lumix G7. Panasonic Lumix G7, like non-existent autofocus, Micro Four Thirds, crop sensor. And then I went to a Canon M50. And then, well, first I started on my dad's camera. It was like a Nikon D, whatever the frick. Like, it wasn't like, it was garbage.
Oh, yeah.
But, and now we're back on Lumix.
I love that. Yeah.
With functioning autofocus.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. But
So Daniel
so he
gifted you
gifted it to me. And I was so excited because I always wanted to like get into photography, but I just never truthfully, like I just never had the money to do it because I was a broke college student and in grad school, which then you're even more broke. And so I was very excited to get it, but I was also kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah,
like, I don't
scared,
know.
overwhelmed,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So then I kind of just started messing around and like sharing and posting like that I wanted to get more practice with it and take pictures. So that first, like, I think 3 or 4 months of having it, like I had an influx of so many people that I was doing just like free sessions for, of just like getting practice with it and doing it. And within those first few months, I actually had a friend from college ask me if I would do her wedding for her, which I was kind of like, I don't even know if I want to do weddings.
Was that before you ever
before I second shot, shadowed, anything. I was like, you have a lot more faith in me than I even think I have in myself right now.
That's wild.
So I was like, I probably won't. I was like, but let me recommend someone to you. So then I recommended my friend Grace, and I ended up shadowing her for that wedding, and that was the first wedding that I had shadowed. And I just loved it. Like I knew like going into it, I really ideally wanted to do like couples and weddings and like get into that. But obviously when you start out, like you gotta get practice and all the things before you jump into it. But as soon as I shadowed that first wedding, that was like game over. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I love it. Like I loved the adrenaline of it and just
That's a real
like,
thing, dude.
oh yeah, like the fun and just being able to talk with everybody and I don't know, just hearing their love stories. I feel like that's like also like just like the best part of all of it.
Yeah,
we love love.
around here.
He love yeah,
That's a serious thing.
that's his saying right there. Because we do. I mean, honestly, like, and it's so funny that you say that. So was that the first? So did you shadow that wedding and then immediately start to try to do your own, or did you shadow more?
Yeah, so I shadowed that wedding. It was May, I think, whenever that was, and then I second shot my first wedding, second shooting in July, and then I booked my first 2 weddings that October.
Cool.
So
for that same year?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, all in 2021.
Like
was
2
like,
months later.
yeah.
Wow, you've only been doing it since 2021. That's nuts.
October. I actually shot my first like wedding like lead on my birthday, so it's like
That's
my
cool.
like wedding photographer anniversary is my birthday, and like it's kind of cool.
Now your birthday's in October, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. 'Cause October. I know it's close to mine.
16th.
Okay, so mine's the 6th.
There you go.
So whenever you did me and my wife's wedding, you had been doing it for 10 months?
Yeah. I had only shot, you guys were my 3rd wedding ever.
3rd ever? I didn't know that.
You're like,
did a
we,
fantastic
you're
job.
like, we regret this. No.
No, like
So do you feel like you had the because like I think we can all agree that weddings is much less about the photography knowledge and more about how to navigate a wedding day. So do you feel like you had the photography knowledge of like your tech specs and like your settings and like was all that second nature to you, or did you feel like you were still kind of learning how to get a good shot while you were still like
Definitely
starting?
like still learning.
Okay.
I think there were a lot of moments that I like was still like messing up. Like I'd mess up like the focus or like,
But they don't know
my
that.
ISO wouldn't be right. And then I'd have to change all of the noise post like in
Yeah.
editing. And I think I definitely was still learning, but I wanted to make sure, especially going into weddings, like I kind of had decided if I was going to do it, then I was going to go in confident in it and knowing that like I was capable of being able to handle a wedding day and go through all the specs of it, but also knowing like I'm still learning and I'm still growing in that. And even I still feel like that today. There are still things that I'm learning constantly doing it, even 2 years later.
Yeah. I mean, I think me and Hayden have talked about this before. Like, you never want to stop. You never want to feel like you know it all, because you don't. Like,
Right.
you're never going to get to a point where you have all the knowledge or all the skills or all. And I think that's why it's important to collaborate with different people with different viewpoints and different experiences. Like, you started, quote unquote, as a child or, in your childhood, loving photography. I don't know when you got into it. I know you started doing like vlogging back in like late high school, early college,
Even
right?
before, this is a funny story.
No, don't.
The very first time, I think I've shared this on my page before. The very first time that I ever picked up a camera was like for a functional purpose. It wasn't for like, oh, I'm super interested in the camera stuff. It was whenever I started posting. I was learning guitar and I had been singing previous
Music, yeah.
and I was posting guitar covers, which I look back on them and they're freaking.
Have you watched them?
Dude?
Oh, I've been a part of them.
Dude, she's been in the video. So
Wait, what?
Which
never
I
saw
like
that, bro.
totally like feel him on that, because I can't play an instrument to save my life, but I started posting like video, like I would do like video and work with like cameras whenever I was in middle school is when I started, because I started a YouTube channel because I wanted to be a famous singer and get discovered like Justin Bieber. But
exactly like Justin Bieber.
exactly, I'm like, it's gonna happen.
I love the goals.
Oh yeah, but that was like my beginning. But the really sad part of it now is like I don't remember the password to the YouTube, and it's under my mom's email. So those are there. They're there forever, like literally forever. And my YouTube name is JB Singer 2.
That's amazing.
I love
You
it.
just called
It's
Jodi that.
so
now.
bad. Everyone kept thinking that it was like I'm like Justin Bieber Singer 2, and I'm like, no, my initials.
You only cover
My
Justin
initials
Bieber
are
songs.
literally.
That's
I'm
it.
like, I'm
That's your
JB
niche.
also.
That's so funny.
Well,
It was
there's a
so
vlog
amazing.
of us when we tried out for The Voice. Like,
Really?
It's a 30-minute vlog. The quality is actually,
It's not bad.
it's not terrible, but it's not great.
What was that shot on?
You were also
That was on
recording
my
while you were
Lumix
driving.
G7?
Bro, yeah.
Yeah.
Changing lanes,
I'm like, Hayden,
driving,
put
vlogging.
the camera down.
We got up for I don't know how early we got up. It was super 6 or something like that. And we went to Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indy and stood out in the freezing cold.
That's so
Like
cool.
it was like
So you guys
10
go
to
way
15
back
degrees.
then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
First time we met was it through Campus Outreach?
I think so.
I think
Was
it
it
through
what?
Campus Outreach. Campus Outreach at ISU.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
like
gotcha.
you know what Campus Outreach is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you probably know. Do you know the Idols? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were part of that.
One of them coaches that
Mm.
Logan, I think, is
Yeah.
coach of
and
the
Marshall.
Does he really?
yeah
I didn't know
the
that.
varsity team. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
he was a great.
super cool.
He was a very skilled player, but he was also very smart. Like his
Mm.
basketball IQ was very high.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you started on you said the Canon T100.
Yeah, I think
You
so.
started on Lumix G7. I started on a Nikon D3300.
Oh my.
Yeah.
High quality.
Yes.
Only the best.
Very sharp images.
You know what's funny is
You
like,
were the trend, the blur before it was the
oh
trend.
my gosh, can we talk about that for a second?
Not tasteful blur either.
Not tasteful blur.
I saw. Did you see that reel about like the trend of like blurry photos?
Dude,
In wedding photography.
Podcast setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? I hate it personally.
I
with the soul.
Speak your mind, please. I know.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
where you fall on
This-
this because
this-
you did it last time. I second stop for you. You're like, we're gonna get some blurry photos intentionally.
Yeah.
And she's
This
out
is
here
a
doing
safe.
this.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
I will say that first of all.
I love that.
But I would just say I don't like it with the one exception of if it's intended, or not intended, because it's all intentional, I guess. If it is, if it makes sense, like if it's actually people moving. If it's just a blurry photo of like still subjects, that doesn't make any sense to me
Right.
personally.
Yeah.
But if it's actual movement happening, like reception photos, or like I do like the one where I've seen the couple in the middle and everybody kind of walking past.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. I do like
And
that
they're
one.
like
That
the
one's cool,
focus.
man.
Yeah, they are locked in, and then everybody else is kind of blurry,
Yeah.
walking past them. So that's my take on it. For the 90% of it, I hate, but there's a small 10% that I do enjoy.
I do enjoy it for like the artistic take
Sure.
of it, but I definitely like I would never take like a blur photo without also getting like your sharp in focused
Yes.
image of it. Like
Yes.
that, like I'm like those are like usually like I'm doing those like after I've gotten like the shots that I know I need, that I know like the couples want, and then like doing kind of like some fun, like more artistic ones afterwards. Cause I would say like my style leans like a little bit more like I would say like kind of documentary, like more like kind of like a prompted documentary
Sure.
style. Like I like kind of give like that like idea of like, okay,
The initial prompt.
do this, yeah, and then like just
See where it goes.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
I feel like sometimes in that like it's fun to like do a little bit like of the artistic takes of things, and like I'll do that, and like I'm big on like the creative cropping and like doing things like out of those images, but all of it is all done. I feel like in my opinion it should be done after you've gotten like the main images that
Absolutely.
you should get first for their day.
And
You
that's
said- you said creative cropping.
Mm-hmm.
Like is that just like cropping after the fact and kind of reframing it more or less?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because then it's like I still have like that main, like say like I have a couple and they're like, you know, nose to nose and like mouth, like I don't know how to describe, you know what I mean, like they're going in for a
The
smile.
nuzzling,
yeah,
yeah.
like those like nuzzled in, like very romantic. It's like okay, like we've got like the big picture of that, and then afterwards it would be like I'm gonna crop it and get it like to where it's like just like their like noses and mouth, or like if it's like a hand on the chin, like getting like a focus of that. But all of that is done after I get the main one, which is I don't know, it kind of helps keep things fresh too.
I definitely agree with trying. I'm all for trying something you haven't done before after you've gotten the shots that you know you're going to need and the ones that they paid you for.
Yeah.
But
Essential.
Can you
I
imagine?
try to stay away from trendy stuff, which I know is hard because like you could start a trend. I mean, if you get a particular shot and then you do it over and over at, you know, multiple weddings and people see it, I'm like, let me try that. And then it just kind of takes off. So,
Yeah.
I mean, trendy isn't like necessarily the devil, but it's like I try to stay away from stuff that like the teal and orange that I'm so glad is pretty much done with now. At least I don't see it very much anymore. Oh, in video, it's more of a videography thing. I don't know if you ever noticed it, but
Not me over here editing a full sequence on my Florida vacation. in
tell me you
teal and
didn't.
orange.
Oh God, Hayden.
4 days ago, I put together a little sequence all teal and
I'll
orange,
give you
and
a-
it looks fantastic.
I'll give you a break because footage on the beach, sand, blue skies, sun. If you had all those,
Pool, yep, that's exactly.
if you had the
described it
combination
perfectly.
for it, yes. But I've seen it forced so many times that I'm just like. So my whole point is like I try to stay away from trendy stuff. But like I like to try to get creative. Like okay, I got what I needed. Let's see what this does because it may turn out terrible. As you know, you probably. I mean,
Oh, I've had some shots that I'm like that. We're just never gonna see the light of day.
Yeah, that was a big swing and a miss. We're not gonna do that.
I know,
anymore.
but then you're in the moment and you're like, yeah, looks great. Like I love it. We're just gonna like let's just do it one more time.
Okay,
Like-
next.
And I'm always like, it's like from the Madagascar movies where they're like smile and wave, boys.
Oh my
smile and wave.
gosh.
That's how I feel when I do that. Like, looks good.
you know, my kids haven't watched Madagascar movies yet, and I love
That's
them.
criminal.
Well, they're obsessed with Disney, so it's hard to get them away from those.
That's
Is
fair.
Madagascar, is that not Disney?
No, it's DreamWorks, so it's not Disney specific.
I don't
but
know the difference between any of that. They're all just
I know I'm a big cinema head, so it's like, and it's funny because like when you say you liked photography, like as like early childhood or whatever, I was always into like cinema and art and like appreciating photography and stuff like that, but I was never like, I never saw it and was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I never was like that. And so I legitimately only found photography at all in a not working aspect, but a involved, engaged aspect, 2018.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I'm still learning so much.
Oh yeah.
Hayden, I'm gonna let you, do you have anything that you want? I don't want to dominate.
No, I got questions. I got questions on questions.
I literally told her, and if you have anything, I don't know if you wrote anything down, but I told Jodi, I was like, I don't want to dominate the conversation because I can tend to do that.
That's okay.
Did you already talk about your first paid shoot? I don't think specifically.
Yeah, not all the free ones that you
no
gave out to
freebies.
everybody.
There's only like 10.
To be fair, we're out here trying to make money, okay?
Look, this is a safe space. We all did
We
tens
all
and
did
dozens of
things.
photo
If we were
shoots
going to
for free.
invoice her for this. I'm just out here trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, what was your first paid shoot, and how did you feel? Like, because I know for me,
First paid or first big paid? Or
just
paid?
Paid, not a gift. So like for me, my first paid gig was
like
hey, I'm gonna do this for free. Did it for free. Delivered a great product, and they said, hey, we're gonna pay $200 anyways. Not one of those. One you actually like wrote out a contract for, and it was actually kind of a business interaction. And how was that feeling? Because I know the first time I did that, it was like I was cold sweating when I sent the message.
Oh yeah.
About the money and stuff like that. That freaked me out.
That's such a good question. I don't even remember.
I was gonna say it's okay because I don't remember my first paid one either. I remember my first big job, but I don't remember my first paid.
I feel like I'm like trying to go back to that time and remember.
It's only 2 years ago.
I know.
Well, 3.
A lot has happened since
Right.
then. I think that it probably had to have been like a couples session or something. Like I can't even really remember who it was, which is like so horrible. Like I feel bad. I'm like, I promise.
They're sitting on their couch on TikTok
I know,
right now
I'm like-
watching. She doesn't remember us.
She doesn't remember
I
us,
promise you're so special. I just have a horrible memory. No, but I do remember like whenever I first because I think whenever I first was taking money for it, like I did not have contracts at all. I was like,
It'll be
what?
fine.
Oh, yeah. Which thankfully, like I have never been burned by not having a contract, which has been good. But obviously now at that point, like everybody signs a contract, whether I've known you my whole life or we've just met.
Exactly.
So that but I do remember like the first time it happening that it felt very surreal, and I felt like I wasn't really like prepared for it. I'm like, are you sure you want to pay me to do
Classic
this?
imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was like, there's no way like you actually want to. And I think at that time, like I wasn't even charging, like I was not charging near as much as I do now, but like I think it was like maybe $100, like $150 tops.
It was for like a couple shoot or something.
Oh yeah, for like an hour, like probably, yeah.
And you delivered all the photos.
100%.
All the raws.
Yeah.
All the
All the raws.
That was the one thing that I did learn, like from the very beginning. I'm like, no raws. You don't get raws ever. Which I'm also like, why would you want them? Like they look
Yeah, and
Because then
on
at that
that-
point, it's not your art.
right.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I think that the editing is at least half of the process.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I feel like it's at minimum half the process.
Oh yeah. If you look at like my raws versus like my final edited product, that like looks like two different
I love
things.
that my wife is like, she's still on the outside. I mean, she knows a lot from secondhand, information, but I love still to like, I don't edit at home as much anymore, but when I do, I love to like tell her to look at this photo, and she'll be like, oh, wow, looks good. And I'm like, yeah, but this is what it actually looks like. And then I'll like,
Yes,
hit
like
the
the
swap,
before and
the
after.
before and after.
I
And
do
she's like,
that too.
how do you, like, it already looked good. How do you make
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And
I like to do it and then I go before, after. And then Daniel's like, oh, that looks good. He's like, he has no idea what any of it is.
With video, that is just not the case because I think it's even more so the case because log footage is not the same as doesn't look the same as like a raw photo, because you can still have decent color in a raw photo,
Yeah.
yeah,
but in log footage it just
it's
looks
so flat. Yeah.
Whenever I always feel bad. I always have to preface with, hey, check out this clip. It's gonna look way better than this whenever it's finished. And then I flip my camera around and they almost like, oh.
Yeah.
Dude, there's this, his name's Chip. He is the pastor's kid at our church. And I showed him a clip of log footage. And he said, because he doesn't know anything about cameras. Not yet. He just got his first like Canon camera, and he's so freaking excited. But he's got a nifty 50 and everything. Dude, it's so cool.
Oh, the nifty
and
50.
I showed it to him. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, he knows. Like, I defaulted to like, okay, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
He said something like, it looks a little washed out, don't you think? I'm like, yeah. And he's a young kid, so he's like super honest and everything like that. I'm like, oh man, that shouldn't have hurt my ego, but it did.
You're like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I proceeded to explain in far greater detail than he probably cared to listen.
Right.
That's funny that you mentioned like the Canon, like the crop sensor with a nifty 50, because it's literally what I shot your engagement session on.
Dude, we all lived the same life.
It really is. I feel like that's
There's
everyone.
no experiences.
Yep.
And honestly, though, it's really fascinating to me because, golly, it's fascinating to me because where we all are right now is such, I would say, relatively different spots, but we started in that same little bubble of like crop sensor, 50 millimeter lens. Like, I mean, I know I started with the D3300. My first purchased high quality lens was the 50 mil.
Is that a full frame? Is D3300
No, it's a crop.
frame DSLR?
No, it's a crop.
It's a crop sensor?
Yeah, it's a crop.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
a big one though, right? Is it like a full, like,
It's a
double grip?
No, it's not. I know what you're talking about. Let's say
You know
out
what
the
I mean?
side
Like the
and the
1DX.
bottom. No, it was not like that. It was a pretty small. It was a miniature form factor. What?
Watch that cable. I don't want you accidentally.
It was a small form factor camera. Very limited. No custom function buttons. No bells and whistles at all. I mean, like you said, the blurriness of those, or like the quality of those photos, it almost looks like it was intentionally, like I put a Ziploc bag over the lens to get like
Put some Vaseline on the
Oh,
frame.
yeah.
right.
And then it's like, it's so hard because when you're like taking them with that too, like you're like, oh, these look so great. And then you get them into post and you're like, they're not even in focus. Like, this is amazing.
I will
Love
say
that.
there are still a couple of photos from that camera and lens combination that I still love. I don't know why. And it might be a nostalgia thing of
Oh, yeah.
I
like,
think it probably is.
yeah, it might be a nostalgia thing
Yeah.
of like looking back like, oh man, that still holds up today.
Oh yeah, that's how I feel. I have a couple. Their names are Brooke and Zach, and I'm actually doing their wedding this year. I almost said next year, but
Hi,
it's-
Brooke and Zach.
Hi, Brooke and Zach. They were my first couple that I ever shot, like ever. And it was like February 2021. It like had just snowed, like an insane snow. And we went out to Fowler Park and like did a session out there. It was like 15 degrees, like so cold. But I was like, I was so excited to like get started doing it. And so I was like, if anyone wants to go take pictures in the snow, and they're like, we will. And I was kind of like, y'all are dumb. Like, this is
Yeah.
cold. Like, no way.
Freezing.
Well, thanks.
But it was like, but those are some of those pictures that it's like, it was cool to kind of look back and look at those and then look at the photos that I did for their engagement session in October and just see, like, it's like the same people, but just see such a big difference in it. But also, like, still being proud of what I did, you know, back the first time that I ever photographed them, because it was just like I had no idea what I was doing, like at all. And it like still turned out like so good for like what I was working with and what I was doing.
Well,
so
they probably loved the photos that you
Oh,
took.
yeah.
They probably just like, because I feel like people, us as like camera people, just as a catch-all term, we have such a higher expectation of our photos and our videos than the general public do.
for sure.
Unless of course you're somebody like, I don't know, my wife wasn't into camera stuff, but she took great photos on her iPhone. But all the technical specifications, she was like, she knows what a good photo looks like. I
Right.
gave her my camera one day, just like early on in our relationship. She took a fantastic photo of me. And I'm like, it's like, probably still my favorite photo to this day. And she had no camera experience. So there are some people that, if they don't have camera experience, they still
Yeah.
understand.
I call that the natural eye.
Yeah.
That's what
That's the social media age thing. I feel like more people have that.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
I feel like I would say like to a certain extent, because I know
Yeah.
people who like are very good at social media, creative, all those things, but like have tried to pick up like a physical camera and like the specs, like you said, like they're just too overwhelming, and like how to get there and how to memorize it and how to do it. It's like if I were to set up, like, because I even have done it before where like I've had pictures of like Daniel and I taken, and I'll have like my friend Jess take them for us, but I have to set up all of the settings and kind of coach her through it and doing it. Versus like, I think like for all of us, like the first time that we picked up a camera and doing that, it was like Jordon said, like that natural eye for it and knowing how to do it. And I would argue like Carly definitely, she's got a natural eye. I think she's a very creative person.
That's what I look for when I'm looking at second shooters or associate shooters or whatever, or for somebody to take a lead in place of me, whatever the case may be. I look for, because I can deal with having to teach somebody specs and settings and stuff like that, but I feel like you can't teach somebody how to see a good photo. Right. They have to naturally develop that on their own. Yeah. Like you described yours as like kind of a documentary style of shoot, or journalistic style of shooting, where I would describe mine as like a little documentary, but a little more intimate, and almost as if like the viewer is peeking in on a moment that they were never supposed to be part of, almost not in like a risque way, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know how Hayden, we'll let him answer when he gets back over here, but it's interesting to see like everybody's different style of shooting, and that's the eye that you develop, and I think that has a lot to do with your not just photography experience, but your life experience. Like what kind of glasses or what kind of rose-colored lenses have you seen the world through in order to develop that eye for your photography? So like for me, I developed it through just watching movies after movie. I mean, I love cinema. And so I try to, and I think I fall in love, oh my God, product placement.
This is not a paid promotion.
I think I fell in love with that intimate style of shooting, and that's just kind of directed where I go with it. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard for me to break out of that box because I stay away from 24, 35 millimeter angles because they're just, to me, they're too wide. It's uncomfortable for me with how wide they are. I love like the 85, 135, 70 to 200 range. Kind of allows me to get that intimate shot. Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like you pretty much exclusively shoot on 35?
Most of the time, If I don't shoot on 35, usually I'll put my 85 on and do.
Do you ever shoot 24? I feel like video, it's so much more common to shoot on 24.
I'm more comfortable shooting 24 for video, just because you want to get as much as you can, because you can always crop it in. But with photo, I feel like it has to be much more intentional. Because like with photo, you don't want to go, when the wider I feel like you go with the lens, the lower you want to be to make, because it has to be intentional. It has to make, like for me, a wide angle lens has to make you feel larger than life almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's why I like shooting on 35 so much, because I feel like you get the opportunity, at least for me, I get the opportunity to be able to get those more like intimate moments if I want to get them, and then being able to kind of back up a little bit more and get like the bigger picture of it.
More environment.
Yes, yeah, and kind of just like almost like I like it to be as if like when you're looking at that photo, like it's like you can transport yourself like right back to it, like, and it like feels natural. It feels like you can take yourself back there, and whether that's like, you know, the widescape of it, or if it's like that close up, like intimate, like photo. And that's like, I feel like that's always like my goal. Cause I usually shoot like my aperture's probably, I never go lower than like 2.5, 2.8 probably.
We talked about this.
Oh really?
It's overrated shooting wide open.
Oh yeah. I'm like, I can't.
But we all started out doing it.
Oh yeah, like literally, I'm like, I need the one that goes 1.2 so that I can shoot. It's like, why would you do that? That's so silly.
Wait. The lowest my aperture goes is 2.8 on any of my lenses. I don't have any.
Oh, you don't?
He's not a prime guy.
This is gonna open up. I knew this was coming, dude.
He's not a prime guy.
You're not a prime guy?
Exclusive. Here's what I'll get. You know the Helios 44 millimeter?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what that is.
So it's like a.
Is it a cinema lens?
It's people will cinema like rehouse it in a cinema like housing. But it is like an old vintage lens that is like super, super trendy and popular. It's got the swirly bokeh in the background.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The only primes that I will probably get are like cinema glass.
Mm.
But I don't think I'll ever get like a Sigma 35 1.2. But
That's what that was my first prime that I
it's a good one.
got. But then I didn't like it because I'm a name snob and I needed it all to be Canon.
See, I love
I was gonna ask.
Sigma.
Do you shoot all Canon now?
Mm-hmm.
How many bodies do you have?
2. I have 2 R6s.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you got 2 of them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just got the second one. Got rid of my Mark IV.
Isn't it so like? I know this is kind of off subject, but isn't it just so like? I don't know what the word is for it. Exciting, I guess, when you can just be like, I need this camera. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and pull the trigger.
And not second guessing it at all.
Yeah,
because
because you know, like I'm gonna get the use out of it. I have the work lined up. You know, all those different things. It's just very it's a very secure feeling.
For sure.
I love it.
For sure.
And Hayden just dropped. I'm not gonna say price tag, but just dropped the money on an M3 Pro, right?
Oh, the M3. Oh, geez. I thought you were talking about my camera setup.
Well, I mean that too. Yeah,
That
you spent quite a bit of money in the
Carly.
last 6 months or so.
Carly, I love you so much. Thank you so much. You're very supportive. Yeah, no, I'm currently on a monthly payment for I just got the new M3 MacBook Pro, the middle of the 18 gigabytes of RAM.
So you got the M1 or you got the M3, the M3 Pro, and then M3 Max. So you got the M3 Pro, the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
It's
I'm a tech snob.
I'm like, I know that those are good. That's not, I'm like, I don't know.
Clip that.
Does the keyboard work?
I know. I'm like, don't ask me. I know like the basic that I need to know. Like mine's like an M2. So I know like that, like, but that's all I
You got a better
know.
laptop than him.
Yeah. Like, whoa.
But it's an Air,
That's
so
funny,
it's
bro.
not.
Here's the thing. It's
Yeah,
not, like,
but
better.
I'd
It's
like
just
to
newer.
upgrade to a Pro.
Yeah.
But I do usually, I mean, my Air's held up since the beginning. It's been good.
That's another thing between videography and photography.
Mm-hmm.
The laptop is so much. I feel like it's so much more necessary in video. The specs of your laptop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty accurate because like you don't necessarily have to get a ton of because you have an Air, which isn't like it's not like it doesn't have to be an editing machine. I guess my terms are even off because you do photo.
Here's the question: have you noticed any issues editing on an Air? Like, cause now all the tools.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you use Lightroom.
Yeah.
Do you use Photoshop at all as well? Not
Here and there,
not a
not
whole lot,
like, yeah.
a purist, I see. Well, because when you get into Photoshop, then you start.
You go crazy with it.
Yeah, you're doing way too much.
Oh,
It's not- like there's necessary uses for it.
Yeah.
But my point is, with all the features of all the added features in Lightroom, like the denoise, the heavy denoising that we have now, the added blur that you can do, like all those different, the masking that's intensive.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've noticed any lagging issues?
A little bit, but I also know like a few months ago, people were saying like, don't upgrade your Lightroom until like editing season is done because it was lagging so bad and they had a ton of bugs to fix up. So I haven't updated it. So I haven't experienced it as much, but I also know like now, like I use like my Air like exclusively for editing and like photography, like business purposes, because like at school I have like another laptop that I use like for that. So I like can kind of compartmentalize it a little bit more and use it. But I think my problem is like my Lightroom Classic like has like literally all the pictures that I've ever taken like in it, and so like I need to go through and like clean it out and like do a quick little like
there's a way you can without like you can keep your catalog intact, but you can like remove the smart previews, and that will free up.
And that's what I've done a lot.
Hundreds of gigs, depending on how far back you're going.
I removed all of like 2022.
We're speaking foreign language to Hayden right now.
I know. He's like, what are you talking about?
So
I deleted your
learned-
wedding, is what I'm saying.
That's fine. We never downloaded those.
Well, that's not my problem. I
Full
told you to do it.
So we've been married for going on 2 years in 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah.
Which is pretty weird to say out loud. But Jodi did our wedding, and it turned out friggin' fantastic. And it was only her third. Your third?
Are you just now finding that out?
What? That was only her
was-
third?
Yeah.
I think that's
I
think
probably
could've
didn't
put two
admit
and two
it.
Together. I don't think you did. I mean, why would?
Right.
We saw your
Like,
photos.
I am a
and we chose
professional.
you because we saw your photos and we loved your photos.
Yeah.
And so even if you would have told us that it was your third wedding,
Which is wild.
we wouldn't have cared.
And honestly, it was Hayden who, like, I think at the beginning. What do you bet? What do you?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You're
I'm
like,
sorry. I'm preemptively reacting.
like,
I think I know where you're going, but I don't know.
But he, after I delivered the photos, like, he hyped them up so much, and he was like, "You need to charge more."
Oh wait.
He was like, "You need to," and I'm like, "Do you want to send me over some more money, Hayden?" No, just kidding.
I literally signed the contract. And
It was
I think
dirt
we were
Oh,
at,
you told me. I remember you told me about this.
I
Yeah.
signed the contract and I said, I made sure to sign it first. And then I said, Jodi, you need to be charging like double what you're charging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Which
Do you
I
mind-
think
do
that
you
was.
guys mind if I ask how much
Yeah.
did you charge them?
I think it was just over 1,000.
I think it was
Wow.
1250.
12 something?
Yeah, 1200, 1250.
Does it
Hey,
not
man.
hurt you
That's
a little
wild.
bit to know how little you were charging back?
It makes me want to throw up.
My
Well,
first.
during it, you were probably like, oh, this is a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, when you have a
Like,
when you have a
what?
full time job and somebody just hands you an
Right.
extra $1,200, you're like,
Oh yeah,
I'm going shopping.
It's not, no, literally, that's like, I think for the first like 6 months of it, it was like so much of like, I have all this extra spending money,
Yeah.
like Starbucks, here we come.
Right, that's
Like
why she
that.
went 291
Yeah, exactly.
times.
At 293 visits, fueled by your wedding payments. But no, it was like, it's weird now because like now, like, and I don't have a problem sharing it because I'm like, if you inquire with me, you find out anyway.
Right.
But I charge now for what I did for them is $3,500, which I'm like,
Was that an all day?
that was
quote,
an
unquote,
8
day?
hour. I think it was 8 hours that I did your
You were there
guys.
the whole day.
Maybe it was
It's-
10.
It seemed,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
It probably was 10 because I feel like I started off thinking like 10 was the norm. Like, because I needed to stay there
ooh, that's a
from
whole nother
like,
thing,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
which
we
you
can
had,
get into
you had
that.
to tell me that.
Yeah,
let's-
that's
To adjust my
not.
packages, like,
Let's-
it's
Oh, yeah.
10 hours.
Let's dive into that real quick. So my packages are 4, 6, and 8, and if you want more than that, if you want more than 8, then everything after 8 is an hourly rate. Because I just, not that I don't want to be around the couple. Like I love. I love
Yeah.
watching people get married. I love taking the photos. I love delivering all that. But for a 10-hour day, I just feel like you're getting more than you need. Personally, that's just how I see it. So what's your take on like
Yeah.
how you structure your packages
Yeah.
according to time?
So my packages start, they're 6, 8, and 10.
Okay.
Usually I would say like my 8 hour is definitely my most popular. And then, like, you know, I have like a la carte option. Like if you wanted to add like an extra hour onto that, you don't want the full 10, but you like think like, you know, we need maybe 9
yeah.
to like squeeze things in there. Then it's like an hourly rate like after that. But I would say like 8's definitely the sweet spot. Like I feel like I'm at a point now where like I can confidently get everything that I know that I need to get without it feeling stressful or overwhelming in 8 hours. I think whenever it comes to my couples wanting 10, I tend to recommend that whenever we're talking about it, because I like to, whenever I do calls with couples, kind of like
The discovery call.
right,
yeah.
like the kind of, and we like, I like to like kind of like describe it as like we're like dreaming up your day, right? Like if you
Sure.
can like and like picture like what you want and like what kinds of things, like moments you want captured, things like that. And so like
That's
if
exactly
they're
how I approach it.
oh yeah, and if there's little things that it's kind of like, okay, like realistically, we're probably not going to be able to get all of those things in 8 hours, then I'll recommend like going up to the 10, because at the worst, like there's 20-30 minutes that we're just kind of not doing anything and we like are taking a break,
Right.
but it doesn't feel like we're squeezing everything into
Sure.
there, because
And-
that's my big thing with my couples too. Like I never want to make taking their photos or capturing those moments inflict stress on them.
Exactly.
So I want it to be, I tell them, I'm like, I would rather you pay me to be there 2 extra hours and us be able to like easily stress-free, like go through the day than to save, you know, the $500 and,
Exactly.
and feel stressed and packed in.
I feel like people who don't understand that the whole goal of any vendor is to make the client's day easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to, they're paying you for a reason. They're
Yeah.
paying you to take this thing off of their shoulders that they would have
We-
to had previously
Yeah.
worry about if they hadn't paid you.
Well,
Yeah.
we like to We like to assume that. We like to assume that most vendors are like
Yeah.
that.
Brings up my next point. I think I sent you this clip
Jodi, do you need your water?
I'm good. Thank you.
of somebody stopping the ceremony, a photographer stopping the ceremony, screaming, "No, no, no, wait!" Because like they had to like adjust something. Like that's not the right time. Like
Remember
you gotta
that.
you gotta stop. That's not in the plan. They yell from the back when they're about to kiss. The most beautiful day of their life.
No.
And this dude just like, no freaking, no reservations. No, 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 wait.
That's
Sorry,
ins-
no, wait. I gotta get. And I'm just like, it made my
Yeah.
stomach. I threw up on myself.
That
Because they'll
makes me
remember that for the rest of their
cringe.
lives.
And they went.
Oh yeah.
Bro, that's intense.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like it's easy to get them to trust your opinion on that? As to like the recommendation from, the 8 to
Yeah.
the 10 or,
Yeah,
just buying an extra
I feel
hour. or
like,
whatever?
especially because I feel like they should feel like this with any vendor that they're booking with. If you're reaching out to that person, you should assume, or at least you should know that they're a professional, and so they
Right.
should know whether or not you need to bump it up or keep it at what it is. And I tell my couples all the time, obviously, yes, I get paid for this. Yes, you're paying me, a good chunk of it, but ultimately this is your day and I want to do whatever's best for it.
Right.
So whether that means, we book it up, because realistically too, like if you look at it, like the 8 hour to 10 hours, that's 2 hours. That's 2 extra hours that I am there that day, which obviously like we're there, like you said, like we're there to capture their love. We're excited about it. We want to be there, but that is 2 extra hours. Like,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of extra time to kind of pack into that. So,
If that's the difference between staying till 8 and
Right.
getting home at a proper bedtime,
right.
or being
Or
with
10
with your
and
family,
yes,
or being leaving
Yeah.
at 10 and
exactly.
getting home at like midnight.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Right.
like,
You're
So I'm
depending
not
on
going
where
to
it's
tell
at.
you
It's
anything
different.
that I don't want to do either, right? Like if I
Right.
don't want to stay for 10 hours, I'm not going to be like, book the 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like, right? So I feel
Yeah.
like that's like a big thing too. Like, and even like I only had one 10-hour day like this past year. And it didn't even feel like 10 hours. Like at
Yeah,
all.
I think it depends on the wedding too.
Yeah,
I was-
and we were
How long ago?
traveling a lot, like for it. Like Hayden's second shot for me
Oh,
for
okay.
it.
When
was that?
Actually, it was Sierra and Nick. Their day was a 10-hour day.
The last one that we shot together, the one where they did the crazy dance, like the
No, that
the-
was
like the twerking
Bree
in
and
front of all the family.
What?
that was Bree
was-
and Q.
that was
That was
intense.
something. No, it
was
was
a lot of
the
fun.
one in Marshall, like at the auction building, and then we were driving
Yep.
like back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
Yeah. But that one was also necessary to have like 10 hours, because that's another thing that I always like tell couples too, like depending on your venue, you like need to think of like, okay, like are we going to stay on location for all of the photos, or are we going to need to travel? Because
Right.
whenever we have that, like even the 10-hour day that I had, the place that we were traveling to was 10 minutes away, like roughly. But also, like, you're thinking we're going,
You're good.
you're thinking that we're going back and forth a few times.
Hold on to that real quick. I gotta move mine.
There
Like
you go.
grab it.
Did I
No.
move yours too?
Yeah, now you can
I
move
did.
it back a little bit if you need to.
There we go.
Like away from you if you need to. Wherever you're
Anyway,
comfortable with.
there we go.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm like, I talk with my hands a lot, so I'm trying to like keep them
No, you're good.
not spastic.
It wouldn't be a podcast if you don't bump the mic. a
Right,
couple
like,
times.
I just send it flying.
So much space over here.
But like when you think of that, it's like we went to the spot probably 3 times in their day. So that's 20, 40. I mean, that's an hour,
Yeah.
of just driving like
Wow.
back and forth. So
and then
to be clear,
wrangling people.
yeah,
you're paying when you pay a photographer. I would say mainly a photographer, because photographers kind of lead the day. They become the wedding planners. They become
yeah.
the coordinators, they
Videographers
become
don't
the
really
everything.
do. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
kidding.
we don't. I mean, seriously. So whenever I shoot video with you and you're shooting photo, and we do like a package deal, whatever, you're leading the day.
Yeah. I could
I
see.
mean,
Yeah.
it is just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Not to any like.
I think that's why I
It's
like.
just a natural like
Well, because
flow of things.
photography's been a staple for so long
Yeah.
that videography's really. Videography has been around. It hasn't been popular really
Right.
until like mainstream until I'd say 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago is when it started to get.
Yeah.
But even really in the last like I would say 2 years, I have brides that are reaching out like, hey, so and so got married, X amount of years ago or whatever. They told me that the one thing they wish they would have had is videography, and I've gotten inquiries like that so frequently lately that I'm like,
What did they say? I didn't quite hear you.
basically like, hey, my friend got married or my sister or whatever got married a year or 2 years ago, whatever. The one thing that they said you have to have is videography, like on top of your photography.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's an awesome client.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's a great.
yeah, and that's why word of mouth is so important, and like word of mouth referrals and stuff like that, because you could do all the advertising you want, you could do all the convincing of people that you want, but you're not going to listen to anybody as much as you're going to listen to the people that are like closest to you, like intimately like friends, parents, sisters, siblings and stuff. But say all that to say, like that's why I love doing videography, because it's so much less stress on me. Because my method of videography is very much fly on the wall documentary style, like very much leaning more towards your photography style. It's not nearly as like, it's definitely intimate with some shots, but it's not nearly as intimate as it is almost feeling like like we've talked about this, me and Hayden. We want it to feel more like a wedding film without it being a production. You know what I mean?
Our job is to document your day, how it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to necessarily create something that wasn't going to be there in the first place.
Exact. Yes, that's a great way
And I think
to put it.
that's what a lot of couples want now. Like, I think just in the last like 5 years even, that it's kind of developed into this idea of like, and I think they think of it as candid like moments, but obviously, like, and that's like the kind of the description of it. But I think even in that, like, because I would describe my like style as like that documentary-esque style.
Yeah.
But obviously, no couple comes into it naturally just like knowing what to do, right? Like for an engagement session, like, I can't just tell someone to be like, just walk around,
just
just be you, and they're like, I don't know what that means. So
I said
feel
that
like
a lot in the beginning, but now I've gotten more towards the initial like starter prompt and then seeing where it goes.
Yeah, and I think that that's what is important too about like when you're getting into this industry of kind of like gaining knowledge on like those prompts and poses and different things that kind of kickstart that, especially like if you're wanting to do that documentary style. Like I know like some of my favorite poses or prompts are like always like movement ones to get that going. And so it's like, I'll say like, hold hands and skip towards me. And like, I'm like, you're going to feel stupid.
Yeah.
Like you will. I'm like, every time I'm like, you're going to look stupid. Like 100%.
We need to shoot together because like everything that you do, I do.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Oh yeah. But I'll like tell them that, but then I'm always like, but don't focus on me. Like, I want you guys to look at each other and look at how ridiculous you look doing that, because it's always like, and the skipping one especially too, and my couples will know this if they've shot with me to know, but I'm always like, it's not a high knee skip. We're not gym class, like, getting our workout in. Like, it's like, I'm like a little pep in your step. Like, that's all, that's what I want. And then the guys are usually like, oh, like a little princess. And I'm like, exactly. That's what I want you to look like, is a little princess skipping towards me. And then it just, I don't know, like in that moment, like when you're picturing it and you think about it, like that's when like I feel like I get the most like genuine reactions of like who they are and like just laughing with each other.
Usually about 10 to 15 minutes into the session. And and then they loosen up a little bit and they kind of forget every prompt. They forget you're there immediately. Whereas the first few prompts, they're like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Oh yeah, and I always
modeling.
Yes.
Like, oh, I can't do this.
I always tell my couples there are 2 rules that I have, like whenever we're shooting. First one is you're always touching each other, whether that's holding hands or arms locked in with each other, arms around each other, whatever that is. Always, always, always touching each other in some way. And then the second one is to just focus on each other. Yeah. Like that. Like don't even like worry about like what you're looking like in the pictures, what they're gonna turn out like. Trust me, you booked me for a reason. You know that they're going to turn out great, but they're only going to turn out great if you focus on each other and you like exude that love that you have for each other through that. Because I can take a great photo of you, but I can't take a great photo of you that represents who you are if you're not acting like that.
Exactly.
And so I think that those are like my 2 like rules of thumb to always like be able to capture them.
Yeah, I always.
Thank you.
Especially with I mean, I do it with couples, but there's only one person for them to get connected to. But like whenever I do like family sessions or like at the wedding, if I'm doing like I try not to do like the wedding party just kind of like standing next to each other. I like to put them on different levels and get them in different poses and stuff like that. But I always say reach out and touch somebody. Yeah, it's like,
dude, that's like a church thing, bro.
Reach out and put your hands on somebody.
Hug somebody's neck. Tell them, God is good.
Reach out to your neighbor.
Tell him you love him.
He's got
No.
Reach out to your neighbor.
Stop.
I'm going to check my camera here.
Yes.
Hey, if you got any topics for us?
Mm.
Or I guess, Jodi, let me give you an opportunity. Do you have anything
Ooh.
that you...
What did I write?
Questions for us, prompts that you wanted to...
I'm gonna check my camera real quick.
Let me see.
That's why you need to get on.
Good.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart this recording.
Restart? Or you have to put a new battery in?
New battery.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like something went wrong.
Ooh.
I feel like we've gotten a lot of really
Yeah.
good conversation. And this is what I was telling Hayden, like this 55 minutes and 17 seconds, 18, 19.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. It's got to count right.
Yeah, like, it was just a guess. Rough estimate.
I've been internally keeping it in my
just
mind.
counting.
That'd be really impressive.
That would be.
No, but I was telling Hayden like me and him can bounce off of each other, but after a while, I don't want to say stale is not the right word, but
You get bored with him.
yeah, you can get kind of bored with the conversation because it will start to loop back around to the
Oh,
same
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah,
and
I'm with you too.
and so stop. You know exactly what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, adding that third person in, and the thing I talk to Hayden about is like I want a female perspective on photography because I feel like, which Hayden hasn't gotten into photography nearly as much. He's more into videography, but I feel like photography, specifically wedding photography, is very dominated by women.
For sure.
And so I definitely wanted your perspective as obviously a pro in the wedding field, but also a female pro in the
Yeah.
wedding field. And so
Yeah.
that's why I was super excited. And if it feels like I was hounding you,
No,
I hope that was not it.
at all.
Like,
No, it just.
I was just super excited to get you
Yes.
on and be like, I need to pick her brain a little
Yeah.
bit and see.
Oh yeah. No, I've been looking forward to it. Break has just been
Yeah.
insanely busy, and I'm like, I need to do it though. I'm excited.
I was looking forward to it slowing down
Yeah.
at like the end of October, beginning of November, and it just kept on going and kept on going. I really
Oh, I
didn't-
know.
I
I
really
told
didn't-
myself I was like done with sessions too, like at the beginning of December, and then I booked 3 more.
We always do that. Like,
I'm like, it's fine. Like, I can't.
we're not
say
thinking
no.
about future Jodi or future
Oh,
Jordon.
no,
We're like,
not
oh,
at
this
all.
would be good.
That's what I was like joking. When was it? Oh, it was like 2021, and also I guess like some of 2022. Whenever I was really like booking weddings, because I feel like at the beginning of that I was like, I'm just gonna book everything. Like I'm gonna book everything that
Yeah.
comes my way and do it. And I ended up shooting 20 weddings my first year doing wedding
That's a
photography,
lot.
which like wouldn't have been as insane if I didn't also have a full-time job.
Right, right.
So it's like, great, I have 2 full-time
Yeah,
jobs now.
I
This is
understand the
awesome.
context
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
but like even like in doing that, like it was just like trying to balance it and balancing like how to, I don't know, like manage all of it and just the craziness of it. But
Well, because the deeper you get into it, the more you realize you have to manage the business side of it, and that to me, I hate
oh yeah,
the business side of it. Like, not that like it's just so time consuming.
it is. It's very time consuming.
It's definitely a necessary evil.
Yeah, it's just like that in social media, man. This
Yeah.
necessary evil of social media.
Yeah.
It's so useful, but it's so time consuming. I feel like I could be
Yeah.
doing better things with my time than
I
creating
know.
stuff for social
that was
media.
like one thing I remember, like feeling like I regretted / not really regretting like now. But whenever I first started, because I don't post like on my personal page like that often. Like I do like a monthly like photo dump most of the time, and that's it. And if there's like something else, like a special thing, like I'll make a post, whatever. But like I'm not like consistent like that. So I was like, do I just like combine it? Like, do I combine my like photography page with my personal page, have all the followers already there, which I think you did,
That's
right?
exactly what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the right decision still.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping. I mean, don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I was actually hoping you would talk to me about that before you did that, because what I was concerned about was the people who followed you personally may not be engaging, eager to consume
It's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's
followers
They're-
for what your subject matter changed to. And so I was a little bit worried about that for what,
I think
like it's not an organic growth
Yeah.
up to that point.
but when it comes to social media, and I think like in this like age of social media, sometimes like followers matter. Like if you're gonna look at a vendor and like want to book them, like are you gonna book the vendor who has like 1,200 followers or the vendor who has 300? You know,
Yeah.
like it can feel, which it shouldn't be a factor. Followers don't matter in that
shouldn't, but
sense.
it is.
But it is,
yeah.
and it
It's okay.
does. And I remember like I was so like I was very like hard on myself and comparing myself like when I first started. Like and even like I've talked to Morgan about this because we were always like neck and neck in followers and like
Kramer photo.
yes, Morgan Kramer photo.
We need to get her on too. at
We
some
do.
point.
She would be awesome. But we were always like neck and neck with each other, and so like I was like comparing myself. Like if she had more followers than I did at one point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I
What
suck.
am I doing wrong?
Right. Like what do I need to do that Morgan's doing to do this? But then it didn't. I think what for me, which is really wild and weird, but like when I stopped caring about followers and like what that was bringing in, like that was when I made a big jump in followers. Like which now I'm like acting as if I have like 10,000 followers. I literally
How many
don't.
followers do you have?
Let's look.
Good question.
Let's check and see.
Let's check. Jodi and photo
I have
on Instagram.
1,143.
Gotcha. Now is that your photo page?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's starting from 0?
Starting from 0.
Since when?
When did I make it? Probably like January or February 2021. So it's almost been 3 years.
So did you make it right when you started?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because that was like the big thing. I'm like, do I make a separate one or do I do it now so that the people who do follow me, like they see it and they don't have to like go out and seek looking at it or following it or doing
That
that.
was kind of my thought process.
I
Like,
th-
there's
Yeah.
people here to see. It'll get on people's pages.
Yeah.
So the
Which
way
it did.
I'll
Yeah.
lose followers too because they won't want to watch.
Oh yeah, and
our
I lose
media
followers
services.
on my photography page too. Like
Yeah.
it's like a fluctuation of all
Yeah.
of that all the time.
I just feel like, and I felt like this early on, was like you will gain a client from, or you will gain a friend after they're a client faster than you will gain a client from
A friend.
being a friend
Yeah.
already or family. And if that sounds confusing,
For
I
sure.
apologize. But basically, you'll turn a client into a friend faster than you'll turn a friend into a client. And so that's what I view that, like when I think about like organic growth on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I'm thinking about like, I would not want to turn a personal page into a photography page because those people aren't going to book me now just because they see my content. Like they've always,
Right.
and especially the people who
I
know you
realized
early.
That was something that I defaulted to. Is like, oh, my friends are gonna want to book me,
Yeah. And it's
which
not the case.
some have.
Oh yeah. So, yeah.
And it wasn't.
not nearly as large of a
much
percentage.
wave as I thought it was. Gonna
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
nearly as large of a percentage of your friends and family that are
Yeah.
that you thought it would be, and I learned that very very early on. But I'm a cynic. I call myself a realist, but some people will say I'm a pessimist. I don't say the glass is half full or half empty. There's water in it, so drink it. Like,
Go drink it.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
That's funny. I've never actually heard
that.
the facts are. You can't say it's half empty or half full. The facts are there's water in that cup, so drink it. Like, and that's just how I viewed it. Was like I think that I will have a better perspective on clients if I organically grow this versus because then the metrics are all there and they're authentic
Yeah.
versus having a personal page that has 1,500, 2,000 followers and then turning it into, and then it's like you can't really
Yeah.
gauge the metrics and the analytics of it
yeah.
accurately. But I don't know. Do you watch your analytics at all or?
Every now and then
Yeah.
I do like enough to see. I think like just what people are engaging with
Exactly.
the most.
Yeah.
Which even at that, like, I mean, the algorithm just sucks in
It
general.
changes all the
changes
time.
all the time.
Oh
like
my
it doesn't matter
gosh.
what you do. Like and that's where I feel like going into this year, like my philosophy on it is just kind of like post whatever the heck you want. Like if
Something's gonna catch, yeah.
I'm like, if I just want to post like one picture instead of a carousel of a bunch of pictures, like I'm just gonna post the one picture. I don't care if it doesn't have as much engagement. Like I don't like if I get 10 likes on a post and then the next one that I post gets 110. Like I don't care. Like
Yeah.
it's just like because I feel like at that point, like we put so much pressure on social media to be like the end all be all, which it is. Like I get a lot of my bookings like from Instagram, from Facebook, but a lot of those too are word of mouth and referrals from past clients and people who have seen my work.
And the social media is just a convenient outlet for them to reach you.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
free
and
advertising
it's a
is what I look-
portfolio, like essentially.
It's a portfolio. It's free advertising. It's what I call it your handshake, your digital handshake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I think the thing that I like to try to use it for the most is like letting people see my work, because that's the easiest and quickest way to do it.
right.
But also getting to know me as well, because I feel like a part of my brand is like I want things to be personal, and I want them like want to be authentic to you and for you to know who you're getting, because you spend more time with me on your wedding day than you literally do anybody else.
Yeah,
So it's like
absolutely.
you gotta like me, you gotta want to be around me, and so like I try to like share in my stories, you know, what I'm doing, or like even if it's just like I'm going to get coffee. It's like, you know, like everybody who knows me and books with me and has booked with me knows like I love coffee, I love Starbucks, I love Taylor Swift.
293.
I visited 293 times. Like I love to read, you know, like there's like those things where I feel
It
like
connects you and makes you human to.
yes, and it's more
I
than
struggle with that.
just like a
He's
page.
pretty. I think Hayden is really good at that.
Yeah,
I've
you
kicked
have
my
been
rear
really
end
good.
lately.
I've been over break. I have not been good about it, but
Even-
I
even
was.
without breaks. You've been
Yeah.
consistent.
So I was
Yeah.
resistant to doing this content days and stuff. And he was like, dude, just 1 hour a week, you know, Thursday mornings, let's do it. And then take an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, to edit those clips. And then all you gotta do is post them at that point. And so I was like, God, you know what? You're right. And so we started recording, and I wasn't doing very good at posting. He was just on me. And then now
I
it
was
got,
real consistent then.
yeah. He
I
was,
was
were.
consistent lately, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that I've been much. I don't know if you've seen very many of them, but I mean, I feel like I've been a lot better about personalizing and
Yeah.
humanizing myself to make it digestible for people to be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is the actual person behind the camera.
Exactly.
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Because I feel like the only up until you started posting content day clips,
Mm-hmm.
the only you said digital handshake, whatever, however you want to coin that term. I think that's a good way to coin it. Was your profile picture, because it was you, right?
Yeah.
It was like was it like a silhouette of you?
Before or after, I
trying to-
changed it.
You changed it. What'd you change it to?
The headshot she took for me.
That's right. So the
Hey.
only like time people would be like, okay, that's what he even looks like,
Yeah.
was either that or your behind the scenes lapses
Yeah.
that you posted. You post on occasion. I don't know how many.
Yeah, it was usually my
Post that
back
a
to
lot?
the camera too.
Yeah, and you're usually just doing your thing. You set up your camera out here with a wide angle shot, and then all your lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rocktown Media does a similar thing too.
Well, and I think truthfully, like to get like bookings and like booking like your ideal client, you need to show your face. Like you need to be able to have them get to know you, connect with you, at least like hear what your voice sounds like, you know, before you have your
Sure.
consult call, and that's like the first time they actually even talk to you.
Of course,
Like-
after we post process it, make it sound really good.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that like I think a big part of that too though is like I have had couples whenever we're having like that first call like after their inquiry who just say like, you know, I feel like I already know you.
Good. Yeah.
Like I feel like I already like have this friendship with you, like this relationship with you, because I've like seen your posts, like I saw this, like I connected with this that I also like that you like, and like I think that at least for me, like that matters so much more to me than people booking me because they like my photos. Like I want them to book me because they like me.
Yeah,
and
they
like
connected to,
yes,
yeah.
because
I never thought about
ultimately
that.
like that it all interconnects, and like my photos are mine, but they're mine, and it's a
Right.
reflection of me, my personality, my artistic feel on things. And so I feel like that's a really big, at least for me, a really important part of making my business successful in that way.
So let me ask you this: have you ever had a situation where you weren't vibing with a couple and they loved you, but you were like, I don't think this is, not in so many words, but like, I don't
Right.
think this is gonna work. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't the job for me, or I'm not the photographer for you, or like, how do you approach that then?
Yeah. I think a lot of times, so this is like, I don't know how to word this.
Safe space.
Okay.
Safe space.
I have,
Yeah, full disclosure, the whole long form of this, I would assume, is probably not going to automatically get posted.
okay.
I haven't decided that yet, but
Okay,
I mean,
gotcha.
yeah.
I didn't know. Okay.
I wouldn't care either way. Realistically, for me, like I feel very blessed and lucky in the sense that like I would say all of the couples like genuinely, like all of the couples that I have booked and I have done their weddings for, we have connected and we have connected personally. The only weddings that I feel like I haven't booked the couple like based on inquiry is price point. Like I'm just out of their price point.
That's the only time I never booked too.
Yeah, and it's like it has nothing to do.
Lately, in the beginning, it was different.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, hey, you're too expensive.
But I think that also is because like I'm a very like big people person, and I think I'm good at reading people. I don't know, maybe not, probably not. Maybe not in my past. I was not good at reading people, but now I am. But Hayden's like, oh yeah. But I try really hard, like at the very beginning, like, and I've kind of curated it from like my inquiry form to get an idea of like the couple beforehand. And there have definitely been those couples, like I will say, like based off of reading their inquiry and how much they put into it to share with me, I may say that I'm unavailable or I don't think that we're a good fit, like based off of that. But I feel like I don't have to like go through the whole process of it, like the inquiry call, like talking to them about their day, like all that stuff before then. Because I also feel like I don't want to waste anybody's time. Like I don't want to waste their time or my time.
And if they don't seem serious.
Right. And it really is. Like on my inquiry form, like I have like different sections of like, you know, tell me about
You mentioned this.
your couple. Like, you know, like tell me about yourselves. Like how did you meet? What's your love story? So if they put a ton into that and they're excited to share it with me, like I know like, cool, we're gonna vibe.
They're already invested.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like when I say like, you know, how did you find me? Like what about my work makes you want to book with me? And if they just say, you know, oh, I saw a friend post your photos.
Good photos.
Right? It's like
period.
I'm confident in myself enough to say like, yes, I know they're good photos.
Right.
Like I know that those are good photos.
I love that. Yeah.
But it's like, but why do you want to book with me? You know, like cuz I feel like that is so, for me, that is so important. And so I think like from that initial thing, I can kind of like decipher. And I would say there's only been like a handful of couples that I've probably said no to because of that.
Yeah. I think I can count on one hand. It literally was maybe 2 or 3 times that I've seen an inquiry. I was like, this isn't, I don't like where this is going already. So I'm gonna, and I mean, it's just, I'd like to say it's not personal, but I mean, it actually kind of is.
Right. Well, and I feel like that's also because, like, I mean, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and you're not mine, too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's like, that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel that way. I feel that way in business, and I feel that way personally with things.
Yeah.
So I
and
feel
we've talked about that, too. Like, and I don't remember if it was me more convincing you or, like, you agreeing or what, but, like, it's okay to not be everybody's. Or it's okay for not everybody to be your client. Like it's perfectly fine.
Yep.
If you serve everybody, you serve nobody.
Yeah.
I think, was that the phrase?
Yeah.
If you try to serve everybody, you're gonna end up serving nobody.
Yep.
That's a good.
Because there's niches, and you have to niche down to get clients.
Yeah.
You can kind of like market towards your ideal client.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question for you that can kind of, you can piggyback on as well.
We love
Do you
piggybacking.
feel like or did you have something?
No, I said we love piggybacking.
Oh.
No, we're good. I don't have anything.
Do you feel like you have like found your photography editing style yet? Like, do you feel like you've solidified one yet? No?
Not even close. No.
What do you feel like, where do you feel like you're at in that process then?
I mean, I know I can take great photos. I mean, obviously, great is relative. You guys, I see.
You can keep talking.
What does that even mean? Like, it's totally different because I feel like you get the side of photography you get better at is your are your systems and how you edit, and like, because you know how certain, you know your own editing style, and you know how certain you eventually create your own presets, and you just get faster at editing, and you get more like, I don't know, you're just more well equipped because of the experience that you have.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like I'm super early on in the process, and I'm still like figuring out like, oh my God, like this is a thing in Lightroom that I can do. I didn't even know that. Like that's happening every single time I sit down to edit photos.
Yeah.
Which, full disclosure, I don't sit down to edit photos. I can't remember the last time I sat down to edit a photo.
Right.
Like it's video.
Right.
Like, video gets me really, really excited.
Yeah.
Photo gets you guys really excited. Obviously, you're excited about video too, Jordan.
Yeah.
But when you're focused on one thing, I've just put so much time into video, and that is my focus, where it's hard for me to even like compare one to one where I'm at in photo. compared to where I was in video.
Yeah.
Because if I had to make the comparison, I am as early on in photo as I was in video, like probably a year after I started video.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because I think that even in that, like, I am obviously more photo, and like the one time that I've ever done anything video wise, like, I had no idea what I was doing.
It was a cool
like,
clip, by the way. Are
well,
you talking
thanks.
about the one with the the flowers and the petals or something like that? It was a wedding day thing.
Yeah.
It was.
I have it on my Instagram. It's like a
So-
like a highlight reel of their day.
Yeah.
But like I did it instead of like doing behind the scenes on my phone, I did it like on my camera
It was super
and
cute.
did videos of it, like
was
little
super cool.
clips. But it was like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, this could not be a consistent thing. Like this
Well,
is
let me ask kind of a question, kind of branching off of that. Like, do you have any interest in getting into videography? Not just like little fun clips, but like legitimately like pursuing basically
Yeah.
the sister of photography, like in
honestly,
that
not really.
same. Okay.
Just because I feel like for me, I just love photo. Like
Yeah.
I love like the nuance it gives almost, and like the feeling of you can see what's happening in that moment, but you really, like, to an outsider, you don't know what's happened in that moment.
Okay.
And like unless like it's your photo of your day or your moment, like you're the only one who knows. Like, and I feel like with video, for me, and just like my like art form, like it gives a bigger picture into it, but it doesn't leave like things to the imagination sometimes, like in that way. Which I mean, I love video. Like I love watching like wedding films and videos and doing it. I just think for me and like my like creative mind, like
It's just so geared towards photo.
it is, and I can just pour more of that creativity into photo, I think, than I could video. Like I think I could do video. Like I don't think I think I could learn it and do it, but I just don't think it would get me as excited as when I take like that photo, you know, like that rush that I get with it.
Yeah, because I think that I think I get what you're saying, because like in like photography, when you get the shot, like that's the shot. But in videography or cinematography, if you're really advanced, you have to get the shot, and you know it's an amazing shot or clip or whatever, or frame, but then you have to tie that in with the rest of the story in a meaningful, driven way.
Which I love that part of video. Like I think that that's like the part of it that I would enjoy.
He's
like
a very good natural storyteller.
Yes, like that, and that's why I love video in that way of like the storytelling, and that's why I love photo as well. Like because I think like the way that I curate like wedding days and like the moments and like even just like the process of like when you look at your gallery, you know, like the way things are laid out, it tells that story through the photos. But I do love that with video, like the thing that it creates.
I think I would agree with you. I think I feel exactly the same about video, but just
Flipped it. Yeah.
I think, and for the opposite reason, because I feel like you can, at least in my brain, there is so much more room to like be ultra specific. And if you really, it's really, really satisfying when you spend such an absurd amount of time with a specific edit. Let's just take a wedding film. And then it all comes together at the end, and it just like, it goes from here and to here. And like, I just love like the emotion of it. And you can just be so specific with the emotions that you want to convey. And I just love like how specific of a story that you can actually tell. And you mentioned that you enjoy that it leaves stuff up to the imagination. And I feel like those are kind of like, they go hand in hand,
Right.
but they're at the same time, they're a little bit different
Yeah.
too, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But no,
I think
super
that's
interesting.
why there's a place for it in a wedding day, like photo and video.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage a lot of my couples to do video, like especially if it's like they have the budget for it and they're interested in it, because I think that you do get both aspects of that. Like you get the still images of it that you can look at and be able to, you know, go back to that moment and then you get the actual like video like moment like captured of.
I think that with photos, and you guys can, you know, challenge me or correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think with photos, when the couple is the people who are in the photos, or you know, it's their day, they are recalling on emotions that they felt in that moment. Where with video, I feel like they can be manipulated is the wrong word. They can be intentionally driven down emotional alleyways through the music, the dialogue, the footage that you put on screen by the creator of that video. And so I feel like it's a I feel like with videography, the client is experiencing something that is new almost, whereas with photo, they're re-experiencing something, not necessarily like to like a really wide degree of difference or variety, but like, what am I trying to say? The video is they are being driven, like they're in the passenger seat of the car, whereas with photo they are in the driver's seat and recalling those smells, the sounds and stuff of the day through that
that's
photo.
That's a really good way to describe that.
Yeah, and that's why I say like when you curate a video using dialogue, using music, using sound effects, you know, different whoosh or birds chirping or you know just little things like that. And I've only really gotten into sound design in the last like 6 to 8 months of like really like punching up my videos. So there's definitely something to it, but I think it's more impressive when you can make somebody feel something through a photo than when you can make somebody feel something through a video, because with a video you can take the time after the fact to curate it and put it together and put the pieces together and create those layers of depth. Whereas photo, it's like, that's the shot.
That's the shot.
Yeah.
And then the edit. And that's,
right,
that's
right,
like that's like the one other part.
Yeah, and then
but
the edit.
With video, it's just like
the color grade,
timing, music, sound design, all that stuff. Yeah.
So, the other question I had a few. Do you still have time?
Yeah. Oh
okay.
yeah. I'm free. As long as you guys have time.
I'm chilling.
Yeah. This is a work day for me. Look, this is January 1st, 2024. Hayden just walked through my shot.
Do it again.
Right, I gotta run it back. I'll wait for him to come back.
Hayden, you suck.
Gee willikers.
Oh, but you were saying about your editing, and feeling like confident in it, or like you feel like
when you solidified your style. Yeah.
I think I would say I have.
I think you have, but that's, I mean,
I think I have for a while.
I don't edit your photos. So.
But it's been like a fine tuning of like certain things. I did, yes. And I think
Switch systems. What'd you go?
What do you mean by that?
You switched from a DSLR.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right now, I'm sorry, but
No, you're okay. But yes, I switched, from DSLR to mirrorless. And so that was a really big shift of like trying to figure out, because that like,
don't you love it?
I love it. It's so good. But it was such a big change, like going from it, that I really struggled, I think, with like trying to fine tune things whenever I did that initially.
Yeah, when I didn't jump to, I basically started on mirrorless. Like when I say I had my Nikon D3300, I had it for, I mean, we had it for a while, but I quickly went from, when I realized I could make money doing it, like even just like golfing money or shoe money or whatever. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm going to upgrade. And at that time I was like, I'm not going to spend money I haven't already made.
Right.
And so I saved up enough to get a Sony A7 II. And that was my first mirrorless. And that was back in 2019, 2020. And so I basically have been
ever since.
Yeah, I really don't know DSLRs like you might know them, or like other older photographers might know them.
I'm trying to think how long I was even on. It was a year. I was with my Mark IV. But I had that same kind of like thought process whenever I was like upgrading. I'm like, do I just go mirrorless or do I go DSLR? But I was also at that point too where I'm like, I don't fully know where this is going to even like be like. For you personally or for cameras? For me personally. Okay. Like if I'm like, if I'm going to like really invest in this and like be like professional, like, I mean, I would have said like I was probably professional then, but like realistically I'm like probably not, but like not compared to now. But I'm like, okay, like if I'm gonna do this, like I want to like learn more specific like specs of things, get a better understanding before I spend, you know, all this money on the mirrorless that and it not even end up being, you know, worth a thing. Yeah. No, I when I was looking into mirrorless, it was like, it seemed like a no-brainer because I was looking at DSLRs and I'm like, man, like, am I saving a little bit of money by doing DSLR? But like, I'm a tech snob. Like computers, cameras, headphones, like anything tech. Yeah, I'm a snob about it. Like, it's the one thing I won't skimp my money on. Right. Like, I'll skimp money on, you know, little things like
I'll save some money on this couch, even if
Yeah.
it's not as comfortable or whatever. But like tech, I have to spend the right amount of money.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at the landscape and I was like, mirrorless is the future. Mirrorless is going to be what DSLR is to film.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's where I was like, I might as well future-proof
Yeah.
myself.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't imagine now like shooting.
The low light capability of mirrorless is insane. It's absolutely
It is.
insane.
And then like you pair that with like the new denoise feature in
Yeah.
Lightroom. It's like it's incredible.
like for my sports photography,
love
I
it.
used to be like, oh, this is 3200 ISO. I don't know if I want to.
3200.
Now,
Dude.
now I
Oh,
go,
yeah.
now I go 5,000-6,000. I'm like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
whatever.
Like,
I'll
it'll
fix
be
it in
fine.
post.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That'll be fine.
That's how I
Noise
feel.
reduction, perfect.
Who
Yeah.
needs it? That's funny.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like the process I have down for sports photography. I was literally like taking shots of the game. And when the game was over, like for the Wallerslide Classic, you know what that tournament
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
So in between games, I was taking shots all through the whole game. Actually, after every half. So like when halftime hit, I would run over, pop the SD card in, offload the footage or the photos real quick, get back out there for the second half, and in between the games, when, the end of one and the beginning of the next game, I would go through, offload the rest of them, pick the photo, the winners, and then do a mass edit,
Yeah.
and then
The
upload them.
lighting's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's super
I
consistent.
love when it's like that. Just-
And then upload all of them to the gallery. And so like I would be able to pass out my business cards with a QR code on and say, hey, these photos are already uploaded on their way out of the
That's
game.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
with,
really
with their
cool.
kids on it.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's cool, bro.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome. And that all that to say, like the low light capabilities of the mirrorless cameras. Cause I look at some other sports photographers and I'm like, I really wish you had a mirrorless camera because it would open up your world of like,
Yeah.
Or at least a full frame.
I mean,
Yeah.
That plays a huge role too.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't always realize how big of a difference it will make though. Like I think that was
remember
me
when I
at the
switched.
beginning too. Like I'm like, is my crop sensor really that much different than a Mark IV?
Yeah.
And then I get the Mark IV and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that's different.
It's
And then
very
I'm like,
different.
is the Mark IV really that different from a mirrorless? You know, like I feel like that's just like when you're first like starting and you don't really have like the technical knowledge of all of the
experience,
options. Yeah, like you're like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But then like you shoot with somebody who's like shooting on the mirrorless when you have a DSLR and you're like, oh my god.
Well,
So
we've-
much
Like your
faster. I
pictures
sent
look
you a
so much
text
better than mine.
during a wedding shoot one day, saying like my first shoot on my Lumix S5 II was my first full frame camera ever, and I said, "Dude, this feels like cheating," because we were in the reception area and it was a darker reception. And it was pretty dark, and I just cranked the ISO. I never went over like probably 3200 on my Fuji comfortably.
Yeah.
Still a great camera, by the way, but I just said, "Dude, this feels like cheating. I can feel like I can see in the dark." It was unbelievable. I kept cranking it up, and I was like, "This is still clean.
Yeah.
What's happening? Where's the noise?"
Well, that's why I love this is the Sony FX3, and then I have the FX30, which is basically the little brother of the FX3, and it has, I don't know if this means anything to you, but dual native ISOs. So you can run it at 800 ISO
Yeah.
and there's no noise, or you can run it at 12,800 ISO
That's
and,
insane.
and there's no noise. On the
That
FX3,
is wild.
the FX30 is a little different. It's 800 and 2500, but still like, so when I'm at a reception, I don't even
Oh,
need
yeah.
to bring lighting or rely on DJ lighting because it's like, I can run at 12,800 ISO. I actually have to throw an ND filter on just in case if I have to drop
Right.
the exposure down a little bit. But
Oh,
Some
yeah.
perspective. Do you know what my top end native ISO is?
what, on
4,000.
on this,
4,000.
that's still pretty good though.
It works perfectly. I love it.
Yeah.
But Sony has the low light thing. I didn't realize it until like a couple days ago. Like that's why Sony's so good at low light, especially with S-Log, is because they have those dual native ISOs. Not just the fact that they have it,
Yeah,
but the high setting
yeah.
dual native ISO is 12,800.
And I think that there's,
Jeez.
personally, obviously I'm a Sony snob. Everything I have is Sony except a couple of lenses. Actually, just one lens. No, two. I have a cinema lens.
Filtrux and-
But I think that Sony's sensors are superior, personally. Not necessarily color-wise, but low light. Like, there's no other camera. There's no other mirrorless cameras that compete with it as far as low light goes. Now, I will admit, I like raw photos, not video footage, but raw photos. I prefer Canon's colors straight out of camera. It takes a little more. Now, to me, because I have my editing style down, it doesn't matter nearly as much to me. But when I take, like, I've taken photos on the
Right.
Canon camera, and I'm like, dang, these colors are like prime straight out of camera raw. But just to kind of like again branch off of that, like we've talked about, does gear matter? Like that's the question for newer photographers. So like, what would you say to a new photographer that's starting out where you were in 2021 about gear specifically? Like, does it matter? Does it not matter?
I feel like no, because I know photos that I took like on my crop sensor with a nifty 50 that are still some of my favorite photos that I would compare to ones that I've taken now. But I think the biggest difference in it is just if you can learn and understand what the settings mean on your camera, what you're working with. I think that that's a big part of it too. Like if you feel comfortable with your camera and you feel like you can produce quality work on whatever it is that you're working on, then that's great. But I think that obviously the more gear that you get that's a little bit more higher end and better quality, it just enhances that. Like and that's like the biggest like
on the skills that you already
that you've
have.
already built.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like that was my biggest thing, because it's like I was booking or getting inquiries and booking weddings when I was using my crop sensor. Like I didn't buy my Mark IV until like a week before I shot my first wedding, because I knew like I wanted
That's
something
a dangerous
better.
game to play, sister.
Yes, it was.
A brand new camera for your first wedding?
Yep, it was. But I wasn't so worried about it though, because I felt so confident with my crop sensor. And I knew like, yeah, there are some settings and some different things that are going to be different, but I felt confident in my ability to work a camera that I knew like even getting a new one, I would be able to adjust to that.
That's funny. That actually brings up the first time I shot with your cameras. The learning curve. I feel like all of these things are like yes, and I completely agree with everything. It's all assuming that you have a base knowledge of cameras.
Yeah.
Like in how cameras function, how light works, and your ISO and shutter speed, aperture, all these things, the exposure triangle. If you don't have a solid foundation or base of that, a new camera is not going to help you.
Right.
I mean, I'm confident that any of us could pick up
Any of each other's cameras.
Yeah, and
work it,
in 20 to 30 minutes, we could, probably shorter than that, to be honest. We just, hey, where's the dials for these? Like the three things.
Yeah.
You get fantastic images, video or photo.
So to that end, at what point do you think that gear starts to matter? Because it does at a certain point.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
So what? So I mean, is there like a threshold or a level or a like a goal to hit before you're like, okay, gear matters for me?
I think, at least for me, I was like, when I decided I was going to photograph weddings, I'm like, I need gear that can withstand a wedding day.
Yeah.
And
has to be efficient, has to be durable.
Efficient, quick, battery life, decent in low light, right? If I'm getting a flash, like I need to make sure I know how to use a flash, like, and I think that those things matter.
And it's not going to crap out on you.
Right, exactly. And I think that those are, when you get to that point, especially when I feel like when it comes to capturing weddings, like that is someone's biggest day of their life at that point. So you get, and especially like a lot of the things that you do in a wedding day, you get one chance to do it. And I personally didn't want to risk something happening, using my crop sensor. Now, if I would have just decided to continue like photography as a hobby and like just do it here and there and not expect to get paid for it and do those things, like, then sure, the crop sensor and the nifty 50 were perfect for what I started off doing.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to call yourself a photographer and you're going to call yourself a professional photographer, then you need the gear that backs that up.
You need professional level,
yes,
professional grade gear.
Yes,
I agree wholeheartedly.
And I mean, even that to say, like, all professionals start like at ground zero.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like where all of
amateurs,
us, yeah, exactly. And it's like, and you use amateur equipment during that time. Like you build that foundation, like you said,
And it works.
but yeah, exactly. But you also, like, I feel like as you grow, you outgrow the beginning steps and those beginning, systems that you use, and then you grow into more advanced stuff. And I think that's just like the natural progression of it if you are going to take it seriously. Like and I feel like if you are someone who is not, or you want to take it seriously, but you're not using the gear that backs that up, then that's something that you need to rethink and maybe not call yourself a professional or like try to take it as seriously as you are trying to, if that makes sense.
There's another wall that you hit that I hit a while ago with my, like, it is necessary at certain points to upgrade your gear because it is quite literally hindering you from improving.
I mean,
Yeah.
literally, she said like you outgrow
Yeah.
Yeah.
certain gear. Like
Yeah.
there was like when I wanted to get into videography, for example, I was starting out on an I was starting out on an A7 III, which I don't know if this means anything to you, but 8-bit depth color versus 10-bit depth color is like a difference of like, what is that, 200 million colors or something? Like 10-bit is basically a billion colors
That's insane.
versus 8-bit, which is significantly
Yeah.
lower. I don't know the literal science behind it, okay? But
Actually, it's 2 million.
somebody's gonna get in the comments. Jordan, actually,
I don't know any of this. So this
no.
is,
So basically, 8-bit and 10-bit depth, color depth, is basically how much range you have to play with on the high end and the low
Yeah.
end.
Of how many colors are like represented.
Gotcha.
in the
And
frames.
here's okay.
Yeah.
So here's the easy way to describe it: is like 8-bit would be like coloring with a box of 12 crayons.
That's good. Yeah.
And then 10-bit would be like coloring with like a box of, do they make 128 or is it 64 the biggest?
I
Whatever.
think it's 128.
Okay,
is the
so
biggest.
Crayola box of 128 crayons is basically 10-bit versus.
That's a good description. Now I feel like it makes sense to me.
Yeah, so.
My
There's
little
blue and there's
pea-sized
teal.
brain.
Right.
There's blue and there's sky blue. There's
Right.
blue and there's navy blue.
And so.
I was about to say there's blue and azul, and I'm like, those are the same thing. Like that's the same
Those are kids
color.
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, so like when I got into videography and I was like, oh, I'll just do it on my A7 III. It has video capabilities, but like there's the record limit of 29 minutes and 59 seconds. There's 8-bit color depth. There's
Yeah.
S-Log without the S-Cine tone. There's, you know, there's all these different things that where I was accomplishing what I wanted to do artistically, but I couldn't. I was at a ceiling with that camera, so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get into videography, like you said,
Right.
if you want to call yourself a pro, I wanted to call myself a pro in the specific field of videography.
Right.
Then I need to have pro level equipment, which is where the FX3 and the FX30 came in because those have 10-bit.
Yeah.
I can do 4K up to 120 frames per second. Like there's just so much more. There's such a vastly bigger world of opportunity and options with these cinema dedicated cameras. And that's the same thing like within photography, like upgrading your body to a certain level doesn't make sense if you're not going to commit to learning how to properly use those tools.
Yeah.
So at that point, they're just exactly what you're using at the same.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
really expensive paperweight
Oh, yeah.
at that
Well,
point.
because it's like even when I started using and I upgraded to my R6, like the beginning of using it versus using it now, like there's such a big difference, and it's like it's the same camera, but the difference is like my knowledge has grown and my ability to use it and use it well has grown, and I think that's what matters. Like I mean, like you could give a monkey a camera and put it on the settings, and like we said,
they'll
like you
they'll
could
pop off a couple pictures.
Right,
yeah.
they'll pop off a couple pictures. I don't know how in focus they're going to be.
Well-
It might be the blurry trend that
It's a-
pops up. But
This is
like,
very artistic.
right, like an artistic monkey picture. But I feel like, but that's like the purpose, and I feel like that's also why it frustrates me when people are like, that camera sure does take nice pictures.
Oh my-
And
I
I'm
heard
like,
that
it's
trend.
me.
I haven't heard that in a long time, but
I
man,
know. I'm like, the camera doesn't just sit there and take the pictures. Like, what do you?
I actually did a reel that was like, ooh, that's a real nice camera.
It's a real nice
I
picture.
did
Real
see
nice
that.
camera.
Real nice pictures.
There's some nice. It like
Nice,
it reminds
pictures.
me
Nice camera. Nice
when
pictures.
it says that. Like when you're doing that voice, have you guys seen Family Guy? Do you know who I'm talking about?
yeah,
Like Herbert.
I haven't watched it in a
Herbert.
while.
That's what it
Oh,
reminds
yeah.
me of. That's a real nice camera you got
That's a
there.
real nice camera you got there, man. Got some popsicles in the cellar.
That's literally what it like feels like. But yeah, no, that's I
Well-
feel like the big part of it.
And
I
to,
recently learned something new about my camera.
I was
I've
gonna
had it for
say,
like
he-
6 to 8 months.
he literally
go.
just
You're just making fun of it.
well, I'm not making fun of,
No,
just
no.
like he like. I'm a type of person I have to know. I hate to say it in this way, but I'm a very like I need as much control as I possibly can have. And so before I purchase something, I'm like I want to know everything. I want to know dimensions. I want to know how the sensor works. I want to know
Yeah.
what's the difference between this sensor and the next sensor up or down from this sensor. How does that affect low light colors?
Right.
I want to know everything. And so he's still learning stuff about what his camera can do.
Yeah.
And whereas like I will learn all that stuff before. Now I may
Yeah.
have to go back and brush up on it, but for the most part, I want to know
Yeah.
everything I possibly can.
I'm kind of similar in that way. I want to know and be prepared
Yeah.
like when I get into it, like when I'm doing it. And I know like there will be things I like will learn constantly
Sure.
with it, but like that foundation of it, like I mean before I got my R6, like I watched I don't even know how many YouTube videos about like the insides and outs of it just to like just to know like what I was getting myself into.
YouTube University.
Yes, we love it.
Amen, brother.
That's where, but I feel like too, in that way, like I lost my train of thought and it was really good.
Well, hopefully you get back on there.
Yeah, that stinks.
Are we all self-taught?
Just, huh?
Are we all self-taught?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
You haven't taken like classes or anything like that? Yeah. No,
I didn't even really watch a lot of YouTube at first either. It was just like
I
doing
did.
it.
I overwhelmed myself in the beginning because I was like, again, I want to know everything I possibly can. And then I was at a certain point, I want to say it was like 8 months to a year in, and I was like, I'm just gonna step back away from YouTube and just focus. I literally was like, made notes in a notebook. I was like, I'm focusing on the exposure triangle.
Yeah.
How does ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, how does that affect my
work
shots? And I would
together.
literally go out and like one day I would keep my shutter speed at the same and then change just the aperture. And then the next day, you know, I would go out and just mess with the shutter speed and keep the aperture the same. And
I think that
That's how
that reminds me. That was what I was gonna say. Like, just the idea of like when you're learning those things. Like, I think of it as like any job that you're gonna do or like any field career. But like thinking like neurosurgery. Let's like put it like the top of the list. Like,
they're basically
do
equal.
you want a neurosurgeon who's just gonna come in and be like, I'll figure out how this works as we're doing it, you know? Like you don't want that.
I'm gonna
like,
feel my way through your brain.
Like I think
what's this
this one's curved. Maybe it goes. I don't know. You know, like so
What's
it's
this red stuff?
right. Like you're
There's
like,
a lot of it.
why? Why is
There's
that?
a lot of
why
it.
is that machine beeping like that? Like you know. But I feel like, and obviously neurosurgery is a lot bigger of a deal than working a camera, I would argue. But I think in that same respect though, like you have to know your tool. Like if you're going in and you're doing a job, like if you don't have a confident understanding of how it works, then that's gonna show too.
Oh,
like I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
if you're worried about like your settings or you're frantically having to change something, like you either have to have a real good poker face or you need to be confident in it, because people are gonna see that and they're gonna know that like you're freaking out.
And that's what, at the end of the day, that right there is what I think the biggest difference in price of what you can charge comes into play. Because two people can take great photos, but can you do that consistently over an 8-hour day without any hiccups? And when hiccups happen out of your control,
and making sure that nobody knows,
and making sure that nobody knows. Yeah, that's the mark of I think of a true professional, and where you're paying for the difference. Because there's been people that have wanted to be mentored or looking for tips and tricks and stuff like that. And there was one person in particular that I felt bad, but at the end of the day, I was like, he was wanting to second shoot on weddings and stuff like that. And I was just like, you are not, as nice as I could put it, I was like, you are not, and I'm a direct person. But I was like, you're not at a level with your camera and how to take a good photo consistently to then bring you into a wedding. Because a wedding has I don't want to say has not, it doesn't have very much to do with your ability to take a photo. You need to be able to do it consistently. And like I said, when hiccups arise.
Assumed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Is the biggest part. Like that's an assumption. That's like you have to be able to get a good photo and communicate and all these other things.
Yeah, and so the wedding day is more about your ability to navigate, like I said earlier, your ability to navigate a wedding day on top of, like, basically your camera has to be like an extension of your body at that point. It has to be like your fingers. They just work without you thinking about it. Like, if I'm going to pick up this cup over here, I'm going to reach and I'm going to grab it, I'm going to flex my fingers and I don't think about all those different things. I just reach and grab the cup. I just reach out and take that picture.
Exactly.
And I felt bad because I was like, I can't afford to bring you on to a wedding day yet, because you're just not at that point. And I personally don't have the time right now, unless you're paying me for my mentorship, or to be a mentee. Mentee. Unless you're paying to be a mentee, I just don't. I can't afford it, because my time is my money at this point. I mean, you guys both definitely understand that.
Yeah.
And how many doors would that open to for hiccups on the wedding day?
Right.
Exactly.
How much time would you spend
especially if they have a question. Yeah, it's like, what are your settings on this? What are you doing with this? Like, and it's like I think to a certain degree, like, and that's where, like, I guess I have like conflicting feelings on like second shooters, like coming in and maybe not having as much experience as like what I have or what other second shooters that I've had have. because I feel like we all have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
like, and we
absolutely.
all have to do
Absolutely.
it. But I feel like a lot of times, like, I will invite those people, which sometimes they'll do this, sometimes they won't, but I'll invite them to come shadow because I know that's what I did.
Now,
That's what I did
shadowing,
first.
shadowing I'd be okay with, but
Yeah.
you have to be fly on the wall,
Right,
quiet.
exactly.
You know,
Like, you're not
respectfully.
getting
Out of
in
the
the way of, like, the shots. Like, you're there and, like, you're following
You're
along.
learning by
watching.
observing.
Yes. And, like, that, like, I think, I mean, I think, I know for myself, like, that is what sparked my desire to want to be a wedding photographer, was shadowing, because I was able to kind of like take the pressure off a little bit and
Yeah.
be able to really see like the ins and outs of a wedding day before, you know, jumping right into second shooting and before like getting that, because with wedding photography specifically, there is so much more to being a wedding photographer than just showing up and taking pictures for the wedding day.
Absolutely.
Like, so much more, and so much more than I even realized was necessary when I first started.
Oh, I've told him before, like, I had no business. My first wedding, I had no business.
Same.
I had zero. But I second shot or shadowed, whatever you want to say, one time for Taylor Wright, and after that, I was like, and I didn't even want to do it. My wife actually was like, you have to try before you say you don't like it. Because I was always like, I'm not doing weddings. I was literally adamant about like, I am never going to shoot a wedding. Forget that. I'll find another way to make money doing photography.
Was it because of the stigma of it?
Well, the only weddings I had been to, I was involved in up to that point. And so I was just like, absolutely. I saw the inside of it and I was like, absolutely not. I have zero interest in this.
It is.
And so then I second shot for Taylor on that wedding. And then I was like, oh, I love this. This is absolutely amazing. Because as a photographer, I'm not involved in the wedding party. I'm not, you know, involved in the family portion of like, you know, the bride side or the groom side. And I was just like, this is amazing. I love this. And then I went and took my first wedding and I was like, I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
I have no business being here.
Well, that's how I felt. I'm like, I literally like second shot one wedding and shadowed one before I took my first. And I'm like, who does she think she is? Like, that is like, there's a lot of confidence there for somebody who's not very confident in this.
Never
like,
let them see you sweat. I
right,
guess.
literally. Which it's like, I don't, it's just, it's weird and it's fun to like think of like how everybody starts off in it, because I know some people who, you know, second shot 10 weddings before they ever took the lead, or like did 20, you know, or like did none and jumped right into it. And I just feel like all of it, like, I mean, some of it's like a little bit of a facade too. Like, you gotta like, sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it in some ways.
Absolutely. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. Like, it's my wife. I gotta answer this.
That's hilarious. Oh man. Hello. And this is an ad break for Pedialyte.
This is an ad break for Pedialyte. Pedialyte Advanced Care. When you need advanced care.
No. That's funny.
Let's see what questions we got. I think we've almost. So you mentioned that you never had like a negative experience with a client?
Mm-mm.
Like ever? Like anything you can think of ever?
Mm-mm.
That's impressive. I mean, not that I have. I've had people ghost me. You ever had people ghost you?
I have had ghosting, but I don't consider that negative. I feel like, because I've ghosted people.
Because it's an answer.
Yeah.
You know, would you rather somebody tell you that you're too expensive or just ghost you?
I'd rather them tell me I'm too expensive for them, because I feel like I know that there are photographers that I love that would be too expensive for me. You know, like that it's like, it's just not in a budget that I would be able to do. Doesn't mean that I don't love their work or they're not talented or they're not worth it. Like, they should charge what they charge.
Sure.
Because but I also feel like that's just because there's a photographer for everybody. And if I'm not in your budget, like, that's fine. That just means I'm not your photographer. Like, and it is what it is. Yeah. Doesn't offend me.
I think that brings it back to like pricing, and it's a double-edged sword, raising your prices. Mm-hmm. Whenever you did our wedding, after I signed the paper, I mentioned that you need to raise your prices.
Mm-hmm. Literally right as soon as you signed.
I think I said double. You need to like double your prices. Yeah. I think that's what I said, which was hilarious. I made sure to sign.
Mm-hmm, yes, you did. I'm like, oh really? Like, do I need to double them?
Whiteout.
Yeah, true. I'm like, let me get you a new copy.
How much did you raise your prices after that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think, because I did your guys' at the beginning of 2022. And I know, like, at that point, like, I had probably booked, like, maybe 10 weddings. So I know like through that year, like I was kind of consistently like upping my pricing without like, you know, announcing it, which I'm a firm believer in, like, don't announce when you're upping your price.
I don't think, dude, that's a whole other thing.
I don't think you need to.
announce.
I don't think you do.
It's not up to anybody else, like, what
No.
you charge. Like,
I think
you charge what you
like
charge.
maybe the idea of like saying like, hey, like I'm getting ready to up my pricing, so if you've been
As a marketing strategy.
right,
Yeah,
like as a
sure.
marketing strategy, but even in that, it's like, do I really want people to just like rush to book me because I'm at the price that I am now? Like, you know,
That's a
because
fair
it's like
point.
if they want to book you, they'll book you
They're gonna book you
for
at whatever price.
whatever you're charging. So I think like through that year, I ended up booking like probably one of my last weddings for around like 2,500, like by the end of like 2022.
Yeah, you have raised, so you booked, what was your first wedding? Very first ever?
1,000.
1,000, and that was how many hours?
Well, it was probably around like 8, I would say.
1,000. And now, what are you charging for the same package now?
3,500.
3,500. It's a massive jump. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's kind of scary. But I've kind of like
Yeah.
kept it like in the idea too of like each year that I'm in business. So it's like my first year I was charging in the thousands, right? Like my second year I was charging in the 2,000s. Now I'm in my third year and I'm in the 3,000s, right? Like my first package starts at 3,000 for 6 hours, and then my 10-hour package is 4,000, which I feel like is very reasonable. And I also like I consider like my skill set, what I have to offer, but then I also consider like the area as well. Like, because I think, especially like being in like Wabash Valley, Terre Haute, like central Illinois, you know, kind of range, like it's not the same as if I were booking in, you know, San Diego or if
it's
I
totally
were in
different.
Chicago. Like the weddings that I've done in Chicago, those are like, I mean, and I know like I've booked people there specifically because I am much more affordable than, you know,
Sure, 'cause
other photographers in the Chicago
The
area.
same quality,
Everything
but
is-
way
Yes.
significantly cheaper.
Yes. Yes.
Which, it's kind of weird about like my whole journey. My very, very first wedding was for somebody that I grew up with, like from kindergarten, and we stayed friends like the most of the whole time. And I offered to do that for free. They ended up gifting me $200 for it, which I was like, oh my gosh, I made $200 doing what I love. This is crazy.
Right.
My back hurt so bad. I was carrying around a freaking Ronin the whole day.
Oh yeah.
And that was the only wedding experience I had before I scratched that, because I second shot with you a handful of times before I did Alexis and Jacob's wedding. But essentially the one and only wedding that I did by myself was a free one. And then I went from that $200 gift, a free wedding, to I think it was 3,000. Was it
I don't know what
Alexis and Jacob? It was either 2,500 or 3,000, which whenever I ended up doing that, that's why I was sweating. I was like, my only wedding experience is like one wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my palms are sweating. It's like, it's this much.
Yeah.
Send. And they're
Well,
like, okay, great.
and
I'm like,
Yeah.
they said
I
yes.
think that like our like clients though and like couples, they don't have the same like comparison or expectation that we put on ourselves, you know? Like
yeah.
they don't know like what goes through our brains like when we're thinking of that. Like cuz even like it took me so long to up my pricing, but that's because like I had such conflicting feelings about my own work and my own skill set that I'm like, I can't charge this. I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
Like
How
I can't
dare
do
I
that.
charge this?
Right,
Yeah, like,
exactly. It's like no one, like everyone's gonna question that. Like no one's
Yeah.
gonna be like, I'm not paying her $2,000 to do my wedding. When in reality, they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you'd be more expensive. You know,
it's
like
so affordable.
yes, and it's one of those things too. And I feel like it's really humbling, like especially like I like had gotten some inquiries for couples that I've booked for this year. And I always have a spot on my inquiry form too that like says like your budget, because that's a big factor too, like when I'm booking.
Absolutely.
Because if someone says, you know, like we're looking to stay in 2,000 range, like love that. That's amazing. Like, however, I don't think I'm going to be the photographer for you. And I'm pretty open about that from the get-go. But they'll like put on there, like I've had some who are like $5,000 is their budget. And I'm like, should I be charging $5,000 for my
Dude, that's
photography?
the thing. I'm a
Like,
big.
what?
I don't have a ton of experience in the whole business side of it, and that's where Jordan has been a massive blessing for me, because he's kind of taken me, not kind of, he's absolutely taken me under his wing and given me opportunities that I never would have gotten. So thank you for that, genuinely. And, oh, it's hilarious.
Happened to you too.
Isn't it funny?
I'm next.
I know. You're next. opportunities given to you, business side of things, not much knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So my opinion on it is you raise your prices. It doesn't matter how fast you raise your prices, obviously. So my experience in business is not, that doesn't hold any weight. So take this with a grain of salt, because I don't really have a lot of experience, to be honest. Camera stuff I do, business stuff I don't. But I'm like, and I've heard Chris Do say that, I talk about Chris Do a lot.
Yeah.
And he's like he's a big business guy in the whole entrepreneurship
He's a
space on
business
YouTube.
guru. He's an entrepreneurial guru.
He
is what
helps.
is.
He's an entrepreneur who helps entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Raise your prices until you can't sell your product anymore, until people will stop. Like, find the ceiling. Like, that's why I went, like, it's like, okay, let's do some. I threw up something crazy for that first wedding. What I thought was crazy. I was like, okay, $3,000, or okay, $3,500.
Yeah.
And they said yes. I'm like,
You're like, okay.
like you just said,
Okay.
should I have charged $4,000?
You're like,
Well,
would
don't
you
get
like to
greedy
charge
on 'em,
five-
but-
No, that's
here's the thing,
like, yes.
What people
I mean,
will
I'm
pay
joking, but yeah.
is like what you should charge, because that's like the market
Yeah.
cap. I don't know what the
Yeah.
technical term is, but like what you're worth is
Right.
what people will pay you,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
which I
that
struggled with.
that helps with getting like your ideal clients too. Like I think of just when you charge what you know you are worth, the people who want you will have no reservations in that, and they'll want you.
And I need to raise my prices. I've been thinking about it for a little bit. I've just, since me and you are working towards a partnership, I didn't want to do it preemptively and then have to restructure it again later down the line.
Sure.
But for 2025, I already have a set like a price increase rolled out for 2025 for inquiries that come in for 2025. But yeah, dang, it got me too.
Hey, bro.
We knew
Gets
it.
us all. I'm gonna pee my pants, so I'll be back.
Okay.
You know where the
Go pee.
bathroom's at?
Go pee your pants.
Okay.
I want to hang out with my wife.
Yeah, understandable.
But why did you go that way? But me and Hayden have talked about it before, where it was like, you have to, if you want to get your ideal client, you have to meet them in their price range, and you know, if that's low or if that's high, regardless, if you know where your ideal client resides is where you want to be price wise.
Oh yeah.
But you know, the ideal client doesn't, for me personally, the ideal client, and I've talked about this before in a reel, but the ideal client doesn't, they're not price shopping, but they're price considerate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
their first and foremost thought is not, how cheap can I get this?
Right.
And that's my ideal client.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that could be a vast, I've actually done the research to figure out that my ideal client actually has the bride working in some type of social work, as far as like nursing or child protective services, or like in that social work
Yes.
field, somebody
Yeah.
who connects to people. It's
Yeah.
so weird. And the groom typically will work in some type of blue collar job.
That's exactly like that's to
Which
a
that has a
T,
lot to
like
do
who
with-
mine are.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with where we are.
Yeah.
There's a lot more blue collar than white collar.
Yeah.
But still, like, I think it's just a theory, but I don't have any evidence to back it up. But I think blue collar male blue collar workers see the value in the work that's being put in, and versus like just the price tag attached to
Right.
it. And on the female side, on the bride side, when she works in those social fields, she has the ability to connect, or she's more open to connect with people and kind of feel that person out. And so I feel like that's where I found my ideal client, like that lane.
In that way. I feel that same way, because I feel like a lot of it, like, I attract like what I also am. Like, I think being like a counselor as well, like a lot of my clients are like teachers, or you know, same thing, like social work or nurses or things like that. And then I also, like, when I'm looking at like the guys of like couples, like that, like I feel like a lot of it like goes hand in hand. I think of like my own relationship, like I look for couples who are similar to us in that way. Yeah. Like, cause I feel like it just makes it so much easier to connect with people. Like when you have those like commonalities and just like your personalities mesh like well in that way. And
well, it's funny because my wife is a high school teacher.
Yeah.
So what does Daniel do? If you don't mind me asking?
His family owns grain elevators, so he works as like a manager for like one of their like main elevators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he used to do
Interesting.
like harvest and working like
Didn't know that was
like
a thing,
farm.
but okay.
Oh yeah, it was a big thing. It's a big thing in the farming world.
So I guess Hayden's got to go here soon, but
Yeah.
I wanted to. Hayden, do you have time for like one more prompt real quick, or do you need to like go?
What time is it? Oh,
Okay,
cool.
that'd be perfect. That should be that should take up. Oh, my wife wanted to take the kids to AZIP and they're closed today. I didn't even think about.
Oh,
Look,
yeah, being New Year's.
we will.
Maybe again.
What I was gonna say earlier when Hayden walked into my shot, it just
Hello, I'm back.
it reminded me. January 1st, 2024, we start working. We don't start the year relaxing. We start the year working. So get to it. No. So my last kind of prompt question, I guess, whatever topic for discussion is, what challenges do you feel like you faced early on, or maybe even now? But like, what are like a major challenge here or there that you feel like you've kind of faced and had to navigate your way around,
Ooh, that's a good.
if any? I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm like narrowing it down.
Right,
Like, how many?
okay.
She said,
Like, it's
actually, I
not
have
a
no
matter of it.
issues.
I'm like, which
My
one?
life is perfect.
Life is perfect. I have nothing to worry about. It's like
I've
I
never
wake up in the
had
morning and I
basketball.
pee excellence.
No, I think the biggest, I think, challenge for me, which I think also like bleeds into like just me as a person too, has always been imposter syndrome and just really navigating comparing myself, because I mean realistically like photography is very saturated and
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of amazing photographers and it's really hard to not
Separate yourself?
compare yourself.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
to separate yourself. But also like I think a big thing for me is like I want to be original and I want to be unique and I don't want to copy anybody. Like that's never
Yeah.
like I never ever want to do that, but it's also really hard I think when you're starting out
You have
to not copy people.
He's
And-
talked about this before, where he's
yeah.
like,
Where it's like, and I don't want to say the word copy because I feel like mine like is like you draw inspiration from those people.
I like that. I
you
like the way she
Slowly
puts-
picking apart what we talked about.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I like the way she
Well, it's
puts
like
that.
it's you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Mhm.
You are as a creative, as a videographer, as a photographer. You are the sum total of all of the inspirations that you pull from. So like Peter McKinnon. Name some photographers that you look up to.
Oh, Astrid, Reyes.
Astrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots. I'm like, how do
Awesome. So,
I like
you
Morgan?
pick-
I don't know.
you have all of these attributes. So 5. There's Peter McKinnon, Maddie Hippolyta, Astrid, and then there's like 2 others from Jordan. You pick something from here, something from here, something from here, something from here, and this new thing is this thing right here that is a small copy of every single one of those. This is deemed as unique.
Yeah.
This is deemed as not a copy.
Yeah.
But in reality, you have taken.
Yeah, because
'Cause nothing's original.
Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
reinventing the wheel.
To a
I mean,
certain
even with like Uber and
Right.
Airbnb, like Uber is just taxis.
Yeah.
Airbnb is just hotels. Like
Yeah.
It's just twisted a little bit.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
twisted up a little
Yeah.
bit. So
I think the biggest thing when you're doing that though, and that's why like I feel like it was such a challenge for me, was having to basically like do that, but also not get enveloped in it, like to where it was
Yeah.
like I didn't even know who I was going to be as a photographer because
that's-
I'm like trying to mix match like so many different people's things.
and it gets overwhelming.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's like I said, after about 8 months to a year, I had to take a step back and be like, okay, I just need to
Yeah.
step back and be like, just focus on the exposure triangle,
Yes.
and then figure out my
Yeah.
my way from there.
yes.
And so, I mean, to that end,
Yeah.
I feel like I've just solidified my editing style. My shooting style was pretty ingrained from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But my editing style really solidified, I'd say probably, it's 2024 now, technically.
I
so
feel
like,
so weird.
I would say like 2.5 years ago is when I
Yeah.
really solidified it.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the biggest thing for me to be able to, like I always told Hayden, like one of my goals was like, I want people to be able to recognize my work without seeing my name on it and being like, oh, this is ISO Images, or this is, if they know
Yep.
me personally, oh, this is Jordan's, and without even,
Yes.
because I like, to me, that's a mark of a pro. Like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
whenever I scroll like Instagram or something and I'm not really like paying attention to what I'm scrolling, I'll
Yeah.
see something like, oh, that's Peter McKinnon, or oh,
Yeah.
that's Manny Ortiz, is a photographer in Chicago. Like, I'll see that and be like, oh yeah, that's got to be him. And, or John Gress Media, he's out of I think Georgia, and I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, that's got to be him. And I'll scroll back down a little bit and see the name and be like, yeah, that's who that was. And
That's
so
a big thing that I wanted to be able to do too. And I feel like I've established that, especially in the last like year, maybe, I would say like maybe 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Like where if you see a photo, like I feel like it's mine. Like,
I've been like that on you since before we traded headshots.
You think so?
Yeah. From an outside perspective, I definitely think that I've been able to recognize you and Morgan.
I love that.
You guys were like very similar.
We
in
were,
editing
and
style.
then we split.
Yeah. And then it started to differ a little bit, but I don't necessarily recognize hers immediately because I guess in my mind I'm still like looking for
like trying to filter. And that's where I feel like even in that way of like whenever you're like connecting with people, and that was one thing that I wanted to say, like was like just the idea of like that community over competition like aspect of things, because I feel like the market is getting so saturated and like a lot of people want to be photographers, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
But I also think it is really important to like, if you're going to draw inspiration, make it your own. Don't compare yourself to other people and be.
Comparison is the thief
of joy.
Yes.
Thief of joy.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it was.
Yes. But I think like when I started doing that, that's when I started booking more. That's when I started enjoying it more. That's when I started like feeling more, confident and comfortable, like just being myself. Because I think that like so much of it is people booking you for your editing, for your style, for your product. But a lot of it is you. Like that is such a big thing.
And that's something I have to work on.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like the one thing that if there's something that I feel like beyond confident in with my business, it is just me. Like I feel like when you book with me, you get me. And I feel like that has been reflected at least back to me, especially like when I send a gallery off, right? It's like I don't get just like, oh, thank you. Like, and sometimes I do. Like, I get like the thank you so much. Like, we love them kind of thing.
Oh, that hurts.
But which like, it's like, that's great. And there are some people who aren't like the big gush lovies, whatever.
Yeah.
But I always like, I don't call them reviews. Like I call them love notes because I just feel like that like makes it like more, I like to romanticize things. So I'm like, I get like love notes from you guys. And so like, I love it when like I get like that love note back and it's like, we could not have imagined picking somebody else for our day. You were amazing. You hyped us up the whole time. Like we felt so comfortable with you. And it's
obsessed.
I'm obsessed. But at the end of the day,
I'm obsessed.
That's what we call a callback.
I'm obsessed in the flesh. I know. Yeah, literally. I got called out and here I am.
Yeah.
And they got me here. But I feel like that to me means so much more than, like, honestly, than them loving their photos. Like, I want them to have loved
because they're going to love them.
I know they're going to love them. That's not a question about it. Like, it's like, I want them to love their experience with me because that's what keeps them coming back. That's what keeps me coming back for maternity.
When they do family. Yeah.
Yes. Like,
that
and
is
that
the reason
is
they're
for
gonna
life.
talk to somebody else.
What?
Like, that's the reason they're going to talk to somebody else and say, hey, you need to book her because she was, her photos were fantastic.
Yeah.
And she made our day magical.
Yes.
That wasn't even the best part about it.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's where it's like, and I like very much so value like that personal, like intentional, like relationship building. Cause I also just feel like that's who I am just as a person.
Sure.
And so I'm like, I need to book or I need to like just be myself and be who I am because then like at the end of the day, this isn't just a transaction, it's a friendship. And it's like we have developed that relationship with each other. And I would say like the majority of my couples that I've had like are now my friends if they weren't my friends beforehand.
Yeah.
Like, and that is something that is
quite a few.
Yes. Like that's like so special to me because I feel like that means that you made it successful. Like you're doing great if you're at that point.
That says a lot about you as a person if you make friends with your clients after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not after the fact. During you make the friendship.
Through the process.
Through the process of it. If you're out here like burning bridges and like I'm never talking to them again. I'm just like that whole thing. I'm just like.
Well, but it's sad because like I've
transaction
had, like,
over.
Right. Yeah. Like, but I've had like couples, not my own couples, but I've heard from other couples who like are friends, right? Like that's their experience with their photographer. Like they were there for the wedding day. They didn't build a relationship with them. They're not going to use them again.
Yeah,
like,
that's
and
unfortunate.
as a result, almost like they start to dislike their photos. Like they
Dang,
start
I didn't
to
think about that.
Oh yeah, like I have a friend who because she's seen that her photographer has almost put more effort into other weddings and like more relationship building that she's kind of like she didn't really do that with us. Like, we didn't really build that relationship. Now I'm looking back at my photos and I don't really know if I feel like these were spent, like there was as much time spent on them. And I know I can sit here and confidently say, like, none of my couples could ever say that they felt that way. If they do feel that way, that makes me feel sick, and I hope that they wouldn't. But like that matters, like, very much so.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that's not as pressed, I feel like, when you're getting into it as it should be. Like that relationship really needs to happen, because that's a reminder. Like, as you look at your photos, like, the person who took them, were they making you feel comfortable, or were they hyping you up?
Were engaging.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's specific with wedding photography or videography. That is with any business.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Acknowledge that it is a business transaction.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because there needs to be professionalism, for sure.
Yeah.
And two things can be true. That's true, and you need to develop a relationship with them where there is actual trust in who you are and who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna slight me. I'm not gonna slight you. Like, it's not. There's actual,
because it's
trust
like, at
built
that
up.
point, it's like, people will sit there and they'll be like, was the money worth it?
Yeah.
Like, was it worth paying all of that for this? Like, and I feel like if you have to sit there and you ask yourself that with your wedding vendors at all, like, then it's like, maybe not
probably
not the choice for you.
All right, I want to let you go, but I'm going to open up my ego a little bit. So how would you two rate my digital handshake then? Like, because like, I look at yours, and yours is very, like, I would say if that was going to rate it like 1 out of 10, you would be a 10.
Oh,
I would say, Hayden, you would probably be like an 8. You just have a very naturally, like, good, bubbly personality, but you are very, very much engaged in your personal life. So I'm going to open up myself to some daggers here on a scale of 1 to 10.
I think you go first.
Nobody wants to go first.
That's so
No, ladies first.
I'll go first.
Ladies
I'll go
first.
first.
Ladies first.
I feel like I would give you an 8 also.
Okay.
Because I
It's
feel
better than I
like,
thought it was going to be.
because I feel like you do engage, like, with your potential clients / people on social
Audience,
media.
yeah, sure.
Audience. I'm like trying to think of the word for that. But I feel like you have so much more to offer that you haven't shown them yet. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're so successful in, like, the product that you produce, and that's why people
Did I need to reveal more of
love
who
you.
I am?
Yes. And maybe that's just, like, my own personal philosophy,
No,
because
I-
I'm very much so that person. I'm like, I want to know all
I
of
would say
you.
that's the track you're going down. That's what
Yeah,
I've
I
preached
feel like
to
you're
you as
getting
well.
there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I knew your perspective, so I was more of a question for her, just because
sure.
me and you are really close to this point now, so I'm very much more open with Hayden.
Yeah.
And so, like, and that's just, I think that my social media presence is a reflection of who I am as a person. I'm very closed off until you get to know me on a more sitting on the couch having a conversation level.
Yeah.
And then I open up a lot more. And so it's hard for me to put myself out there on social media as if, like, I just know these people. You know what I mean?
Well, and I will say, like, I am
Let
not,
them into my
like,
world.
I mean, contrary to popular belief or what it seems, like, I'm not, like, an out there person. Like, I'm very introverted to my
Same.
core, and, like, I enjoy being alone. Like, I enjoy my small circle, like, you know, like, but I also feel like I am a bit of a, like, charismatic person in that way. Is like, I know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Like,
Exactly.
and I feel like that's, like,
See, I know how to turn it on and how to turn it off. I don't know when.
yeah, yes.
My wife is always telling me, fix your face.
I feel like, though, but for me, I feel like part of it is also, like, my training as a counselor.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I'm like, you will never see me bluff. Like, I've got the poker face for days. Like, you'll never know how I really feel about a situation.
Sure.
Like, your mom is, like, telling me to take a million pictures of her and her sisters and her aunts and her friends, and I'll sit there and I'll say, I will do that. I love to. I would love to. Like, you know, like, you'll never know that internally I'm screaming.
I don't know for sure if I reveal that, but I definitely feel
Oh, yeah.
inside that I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
I feel like it
Yeah,
probably
let's
comes out
do it.
exactly like you just did it. Like,
That's no problem.
Yeah, I'd
and
love
not an
to.
extra charge. It's free.
No, but I feel like for you though, Jordon, like, I feel like
Eyes
that is such
twitching.
a big, like, part of it that I feel like you could show so much more of,
Yeah.
because I feel like you are an awesome person and you have that personality.
I appreciate that.
That like you could like, because I mean like this is only this third time that we've like talked in person, and I mean I feel comfortable talking to you. I enjoy talking to you and sitting down and like getting to hear your perspective and your thoughts on things. And I feel like that's just like at the end of the day, like I think the world is like gearing more towards like we just want to be connected as humans, like human to human, like just who you are, getting to know you, and like the fabrication of all of it and like the facade and the image that people try to portray. It's like I feel like that like standard is it's exhausted. It's almost non-existent at this point. I feel like people value authenticity and genuineness way more than just making it seem like you have the perfect job, the perfect life, the like ideal,
The
you
house,
know, like
the car, the stuff, the
exactly,
the perfect relationship, all that. Yeah.
And it's like people don't want that. They want a person. And I feel like that's what people, I don't know, that's what they want. And I feel like you have so much to offer with that.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You have anything else? I know you want to get going.
You're getting a phone call.
Yeah, it is a call I will not pick up.
Sorry, did you?
No.
I'm just going to close this out after,
Just trying to think.
in case I do want to put the long form on.
No, I'm good. I mean, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys for
Yeah.
having me. This was
Jodi
fun.
Buis, also known as Jodi Ann.
Yes.
Jodi Ann Photo on Instagram. Follow her, support her.
Yes,
Thank
follow, like, be engaging when you follow her. Don't
Subscribe.
just scroll. Yeah, like and subscribe. Smash that like button. Hit the subscribe.
Don't go follow my
bell.
old YouTube.
What's up,
Please.
guys?
What's up, guys? It's Jodi here to sing another song. It's so embarrassing. I hate it so much.
Oh man! So that is a wrap for January 1st, 2024. This is the first. We don't even have a name for the podcast yet, but that is the first official episode of Photography Podcast.
Content conversations.
Content conversation. No, wait. Didn't I send in? What names did I send you?
I don't know.
I gotta find it.
There's
Hold
so
on.
many texts.
Oh my gosh! This is gonna be tough to.
You should do fun talks with
really gotta get going.
friends. So lame.
I'm gonna find it. I think one.
Happy
was,
New Year, everybody.
I think one was just for clicks and flicks.
Stop.
Just for clicks and flicks.
Like,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
there's a couple other ones, but thank you to Jodi for coming on and spending her morning with us, and hopefully we'll bring her back
Yeah.
in the future.
Anytime.
Everybody's got crazy schedules, but we're gonna try to make that happen because this was
Love it.
absolutely the time of my life so far in doing the content days and stuff.
Love
so
that. That was
thank you for
fun.
coming on, and
Thanks for
we'll
having
see you
me.
soon.
See you soon. Woohoo!
Is a wrap.
How long was it?
2 hours.
Oh my